everybody, welcome to Lorebeards Roleplaying. We have a great special guest today, Mikey Gilder.
Hey, folks.
Mikey, why don't you introduce yourself so everybody knows who you are?
Yeah, if you don't know me, I am Mikey Gilder. I'm the CEO of Avantris Entertainment, better known as a cast member or a player on Legends of Avantris. You may have seen the Chuckles the Clown shorts and other shorts, either live action or animated by Shucharu. And we also, been heavily working on Neon Odyssey. I was also the creative director and the lead writer on The Crooked Moon, our first Kickstarter and TTRPG campaign, and excited to talk Neon Odyssey and everything else. Thanks for having me.
Oh, you're very welcome to have you. Vera, why don't you introduce yourself next?
Yeah, hi, I'm Vera. I'm one of the Lorebeards. I have done a good bit of RPG writing for the Warhammer 4th Edition games, for the Old World RPG, for Age of Sigmar Soulbound. I work on Open Fortress as a video game setting writer. I teach game design now also. I make stuff, I do things, I stream and YouTube, etc., etc. Hello.
Yes, that's great. She is a thing doer on the internet, which I've
true.
Always loved that description. My name is Ross Watson. I'm a game designer and author. I have over 100 different published titles. The highlights are probably most of the Warhammer 40k role-playing game line, Star Wars: Edge of the Empire, Torg Eternity, Savage Worlds Rifts, and Accursed as a setting for Savage Worlds. But we're not here to talk about my stuff today. We're here to talk about something way cooler. We're here to talk about Neon Odyssey, which is a brand new hotness that is taking the internet by storm. They're almost at $10 million on their Kickstarter currently.
Yeah.
And let me put that link up on the screen so everybody can see it. If you want to go take a look, there is the link. But first, we should probably say, Mikey, what is Neon Odyssey?
Yeah, Neon Odyssey is, it's a space opera trilogy for Dungeons & Dragons 5.5e or 2024 D&D, or 2024 5e D&D. And it's 3 books. There is a player book, a setting book, and an expansion pack, and it's like approaching 1,500 pages that basically takes space opera and brings it to Dungeons & Dragons. So it's, folks kind of think about Spelljammer, and that takes D&D and brings it to space. We're taking space and bringing it into D&D. And so it is, we launched the campaign on May 5th, and it really shattered all of our expectations. The campaign runs until June 3rd at 11:59 p.m. Eastern time. And, it's a campaign that has an entire galaxy as far as the setting goes. We've got class skins for all of the 12 core classes. We've got a whole brand new class, Neon, the Machinist. We've got 52 subclasses, 42 species, 250 plus monsters, and a ton more. A bunch of space combat rules, vehicles, and just so much. We couldn't stop ourselves, really.
Now, there's something really interesting about this, and I know Vera's going to like this too. I believe that Avantris has, and you can correct me if I'm wrong on this, Mikey, but I believe that Avantris has kind of openly declared that the goal for Neon Odyssey is to become the default sci-fi setting for D&D.
I think maybe certain articles have said that and made that declaration. I don't think we have. But what I will say is that there's a lot of great sci-fi. Actually, this year especially, there's a lot of great sci-fi stuff for 5e. I think that they all offer something great. There's Esper Genesis. There is Dark Matter. I know that there's Traveler 5e. Obviously, folks love Spelljammer. I just think that, basically, if you like the flavor of the super neon-soaked, super nostalgic space opera that's really heavy on the science fantasy, but still kind of weaves that balance, we think that people hopefully will enjoy the ethos of our project. I think you can see the ethos in our animated music video / trailer. And hopefully that'll you can decide then if it's the right game for you.
Yeah, by the way, guys, if you're at all curious and you have no idea what Neon Odyssey is, please go to YouTube, type in Neon Odyssey trailer, and just enjoy one of the greatest animated trailers I think I've ever seen for a tabletop role.
Thank you.
Game.
It is extraordinarily cool. Like,
It was a labor of love that took over 2 years from start to finish, or almost exactly 2 years from start to finish. So it's been something that I'm just really glad that folks are resonating with it, and just finally having it out there and not having to keep it hidden for after 2 years is a huge relief.
Yeah, by the way, the Midnight is one of my favorite bands, and
Same.
It got me right away. I was like, oh, it's not only animated, it's got the music by the Midnight. How did that happen?
Yeah, I mean, it's, we knew that we wanted to have a very special music video, a special trailer. And we thought, we may never, this is going to be the hardest we've ever gone to promote a Kickstarter as far as the video. Maybe we'll never go this hard again. We don't know. But we love animation. We love music. And the setting inspired us so much. We reached out to Knights of the Light Table and Doig Swift, the incredible animators and minds behind the video for Twerp's music video, Starlight Brigade. If you haven't seen that, check it out. Stunningly beautiful. And that's a song by Twerp and Dan Avedon of Ninja Sex Party and other great talents. But as soon as we had them, we knew the song had to be super special. And I kind of hemmed and hawed, and I'm like, I don't think the Midnight, I think they're too big for us. They're not going to want to work with us. And you know what? I just decided to send it an email, just gave them the overall pitch. And I think their management responded within 20 minutes. And we had our first call, and like they were so excited, and working with them was an absolute dream. Both Tim and Tyler understood the vision, understood the ethos, and they just nailed it. They brought their own vibe and vision to it, and the collaborative process was so easy. And to me, Midnight's my favorite band. I love every single song, every single album. There's not they don't miss, in my opinion. And I'm very biased, but I think Neon Odyssey is one of my favorite The Midnight songs that I've ever.
It's really good. It's really good. They're a little bit like Huntrix. They don't miss.
That's my thought, at least.
They also don't quit, which is helpful.
Yeah.
Okay, it's such a cool project, and I appreciate that. Like every little moment in the music video ties into a mechanic you've built into the Kickstarter. Like you've got the racing, you've got the bounty hunter that shows up. You got rules for that. Like the style of it ties into that fantastic nature of D&D with the incredible feats of space magic. It's very cool stuff.
There's a dinosaur person, which is awesome.
You got to have dinosaurs.
There's a robot dog mascot. I'm so in love with it. Although I got to say, you had a very diplomatic answer for that question about the making it the default setting. But I will say I admire the ambition in general. I just admire the let's aim high. And you said it yourself, we're going hard on this. This particular animation, and we may not ever go this hard again. Well, I am the guy that admires someone saying we're gonna shoot for the moon on this particular thing, and even if it fails, we'll know we tried our best.
Yeah, and that's kind of the way that I see it. Like if we were just super out of touch and just like everyone's like, this sucks, I hate this, and it's or it didn't resonate and it wasn't a big deal. Like I would have said, we put beautiful art in the world. We made something that we wanted to make that represents, who we are and how we do things, and not just the campaign, but also Evantris and also us as friends. I think the story and the animation and the whole Michael Doig, who's one of the directors, he's the art director of it. He was calling it like a short film. That's kind of how he was thinking about it. Where like that story, I think, represents the ethos that represents us as people and friends, that I think hopefully a lot of people have kind of found a lot of emotional connection to. Because I think the story, although it's in space and there's a demon robot cowboy and there's a robot pug and all this fantastical stuff, I feel like it's actually very human and relatable.
And he's got
Yeah, it looks amazing. And speaking of art, Vera, here's something you're also going to also really enjoy. My understanding is, again, Mike, you correct me, but my understanding is that Evantris has a ironclad commitments to avoiding the use of generative AI in any aspect of creating any of your projects.
Absolutely. And not just in art, but also in writing and across the board. It's kind of one of those things when it first started, kind of rearing its ugly head. I kind of thought do we even need to say anything? It's so obvious. Like if we're using generative AI, put me in a box because a pod person has taken over. But then seeing how much AI slop is on Kickstarter and how many projects and all of that, I'm like, oh my God, it's becoming so much more prevalent like where it's like, you know, I was very surprised. Maybe I was naive when it first kind of reared its ugly head. But yeah, I mean, we have a very strong commitment with us, our partners. No generative AI. This is made for humans, by humans. And I think, you know, if you see the that trailer, like the amount of soul that we had a huge team that working on it, tons of amazing animators, led by the incredible India Swift, Michael Doig, and Patrick Stannard. They poured their souls into this with the additional amazing storyboard artists, JJ Conway and Kevin Molina Ortiz. Just the amount of soul, I mean, a machine can't capture that. And we've also partnered with, when it comes to art, Wild Blue Studios. They are a art studio that is all worker owned, and they have clients from Riot Games to Epic Games. If you go to their site, like they've worked with so many of all of your favorite video games and your brands, Wizards of the Coast, and many others. And it's so great to be able to work through the process with Mitch Malloy, who's our wonderful art director on the Wild Blue side for the whole project. And they have a whole team of artists, and we see every single point from the initial thumbnail to like the sketch, to the rough lines, to like the firm lines, to the color thumbnails and all of that. And so it's really awesome to see that human process from point A to point Z. And honestly, the art part is my favorite part of the day whenever we have an art meeting. And I get to see all the goodies and the characters and the Viz Dev come back. It's like I get to be a kid on Christmas morning a couple times a week.
Yeah, you say right in the Kickstarter that you believe in the power of human creativity. I think you were right too. It's really impressive stuff.
Thank you.
Again.
Yeah, I mean, and that's been kind of the great thing is when we first did Crooked Moon in 2023, when it first started, it was just me in this loft by myself. And then Richie, who's our CEO and another one of the cast, he came on full time. And then Andy Martin, our own Andy, Nikki, and then Derek. And then we kind of brought in the team. Then we built up this team of hiring up from the success of the Crooked Moon and all of that, and being able to bring in not just our own creativity, but find this great diversity of voices and finding people who are so absurdly talented across the entire TTRPG industry and beyond, honestly, has been amazing to kind of get that vision, and just seeing how talented and creative people can be has been extremely humbling and inspiring. And I think I've challenged me to get better. And it's just been great to see that power of Tyler from the Midnight. He calls it collective effervescence when he goes to the show, and that's I feel that every day when the team just keeps kicking ass.
Well, I will say this: I again am very appreciative and of people taking a bold stance. I've worked with a lot of different publishers in the past, and many of them have been very disappointingly unwilling to make bold statements like we're not ever going to use generative AI and we stand against that. It has been a source of frustration with me, with many people that I've worked with, where I'm like, we should just say this. And they're like, well, but someone might get offended. Okay. So again, I praise your courage and I praise your ambition and your boldness with that particular statement. Vera, we have a super chat. Would you like to read this one?
Please, yeah. Thank you, Lycor Gaming. Showing love to Lorebeards and love seeing Mikey and Evantris. They're hilarious and excited for their success.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And I also love Lorebeards. I think I was talking in the pre-show that I've been a fan of Lorebeards well before Evantris took off. And so it's very surreal to be on Lorebeards when I've been watching as a fan, you know, when I first started getting into Warhammer, you know, however many years ago that would have been. Or Warhammer more earnestly.
Well, Sotec will get on my case if I don't point out that super chats are the best way to keep the show going and directly supports the host. So we're very grateful to all of you for your super chats. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right. So what's your first question, Vera? I know you've got many.
Gee, I guess I'd like to know what you think of as the Space Odyssey. Like, what does that mean to you? What do you want to evoke with the setting?
Yeah, so I mean, for us, when we say space opera, I think it is really kind of the balance of a variety of different themes, of where we wanted to make sure we struck the balance of science and fantasy. We wanted to make sure that, like, we're not taking the time to explain all of the scientific things. We're taking, oh, well, how does biology work? And then, well, actually, outer space is in a vacuum. Well, actually, science is, we don't care, right? In this setting, we don't give a shit. Pardon my French. I don't know if I could say that.
Oh,
We
you
don't
can,
care.
you can. It's
Okay,
allowed.
okay, cool. And, you know, it's something where, you know, we, in our version of space, it's not a vacuum. You know, we're very much inspired by Star Wars, where there's cool sounds and explosions and fires. And you know, and it's not a vacuum. There's this gas called ether, and also PCs are very precious. Death should still feel very real, but PCs are precious. We don't have to be, oh, there's a crack in my cockpit, I'm instantly dead, my head explodes, right? And so you can even get ejected and breathe. It's poisonous, it's deadly. If you stay out in space too long, you will die, but it's not like it's an instant KO, an instant death. And honestly, I recently saw, I won't spoil it, but I recently saw Project Hail Mary in theaters, which is very hard sci-fi, you know, science fiction. I think it's all grounded in real science. It was awesome. I love the movie. The level of like how long travel takes and all of like the hard science made me horrified and gave me existential dread. We don't need to worry about any of that. And so that's one part of space opera. And so I think that kind of like we think of it in terms of it is a bombastic setting that's colorful, it's spacefaring. There's galactic war, alien civilizations, interstellar travel. And I think an important thing is that it draws inspiration, which I think most space operas do, from things that are very classic. So that's like mythology, chivalric romance, Arthurian legend, the hero's journey, other elements of classic fiction, right? And I think those things kind of woven together hits that right middle point for us, that then we can really evoke that Z-axis for Neon Odyssey, which is that extreme nostalgia of being very on the nose, wearing our inspirations on our sleeves, and kind of evoking the nostalgia of the, you know, rough time period of 1977 through to about 2004, right? And all of that nostalgic time period. And I think that a lot of our fans are much younger than us. You know, I didn't live through the 80s. I lived through the 90s and the early 2000s. But kind of, I think that a lot of people have said, wait a minute, I didn't live through this period, but I'm feeling nostalgic. And there's a term called anemoia, which is feeling nostalgic for a time period that you didn't experience. And I think that is one of the pillars of Neon Odyssey that I think kind of we've interwoven into our version of space opera that a lot of people seem to be resonating with.
Now, there was a question I had for about the tone of the setting. Now, the cinematic gave me some very strong vibes that it was a little more wholesome, a little less gritty than say maybe Star Wars or D&D. And I gotta admit, I was actually interested in that. Now, I am also one of the hosts of Lorebeards 40K, so I have lived in the grimdark for a very long time. And I was like, I kind of see this as fresh and interesting because it's not grimdark. But I would like to hear you kind of maybe lay it out a little bit better for people, because I've only ever seen the videos. I haven't read the books or anything yet.
Yeah, so I mean, you know, we wanted to make sure that in the setting there could be darkness, there's danger. Obviously, any sort of D&D setting, there's darkness, there's danger. We're currently running 5 different campaigns set in the setting right now, and a lot of them have really dark themes, very serious themes. But I think one of the pillars of the setting is hope. It's optimism. It is earnestness. Right, of where I think that we were in the Crooked Moon, our first book that we started working on in 2022 is folk horror. And one of the things about folk horror is that there's effectively no hope. Nobody wins, and we had to kind of bend it a little bit for D&D to give a little bit of hope for those that want it because they're playing D&D. But at the end of the day, when the hero's usually not a hero, and when they survive, it's actually probably worse than them dying, right? And there's no hope. It is just miserable and depressing. And I think that going into this, we wanted to do a full 180. We wanted to basically offer, and it affects you. I didn't realize, you know, working, because it was the first book that I'd ever worked on, about how much it deeply affected me emotionally and spiritually. And I think that all of us needed light and color and music. Our galaxy is called the Stardust Rhapsody. The currency is called notes, and music is a huge inspiration all the way through. And so I think, especially in these unprecedented times, there's so much darkness in the world. There's so much pain and all of that. I think, and there's tons of other books and things out there to be reminded of the grimdark. We wanted to offer, hey, let's cheer. Let's celebrate the things we love. Let's have some earnestness. Let's have a little bit of wholesomeness. Let's have the scary demon robot. He's scary. It's dark. But then literally the power of friendship and a phoenix rebirth and an emotional catharsis explodes with a figurative and literal phoenix rebirth. And everybody hugs at the end. And there's a robot pug and they're playing the sci-fi equivalent of Legally Distinct Street Fighter 2 and eating pizza, right? And that to me is what Neon Odyssey is all about, right? Of where you can have both of those things. But the thesis is, I think there's a lot of grimdark in the world. I think that we're in the point now where I think we at Avantis, I will at least speak for myself personally, I need the hope, the optimism, the light, the color, the music. And so what we put out from Avantis Entertainment and what we're putting out with Neon Odyssey is what we want to see in the world. And that I think is why that is such a strong ethos of the campaign.
It's awesome. The Bard, by the way, if anybody's doesn't know this, if you go look at the video, the Bard has a keytar that they play to get everybody amped up, and it's just, I was like, oh my god, I am a child of the 80s, so I was like, hell yeah, brother, give me that keytar.
Yep.
Well, totally, it's so great because you got this range from these really scary villains. You've got your bounty hunter, like Terminator-esque demon figure. You got this tubed up neon green hulking guy chasing the team around. You've got villains in fighter jets with ominous spiky shapes, and they're out there in space bullying our heroes who stand up to them and win. Like there's this essence to it that's not been captured since the era of really good Saturday morning cartoons.
Yeah, that's definitely one of the big inspirations, right? Like we were very much inspired. We were very clear about our inspirations. And we even had like a whole process and a setting Bible and a campaign Bible about like what are the things we're inspired by, what are the things we're not inspired by. And we really made sure we stayed true to our inspirations. And we held rigidly to our North Stars in a way, a bunch of learnings from Crooked Moon of kind of just being first-time publishers and designers, applying that to Neon Odyssey, and making sure that we're very clear about what our inspirations are, including Saturday morning cartoons, classic animation, retro video games, space opera, cyberpunk, but not necessarily the deeply dystopian and deeply philosophical side of it. But across all of those inspirations, we wanted to make sure we were incorporating all of that while still staying true to the Neon Odyssey ethos.
Well, cyberpunk is a loaded term, and we can talk about how that's kind of that's got some really interesting places, because like one of the most famous cyberpunk things is Ghost in the Shell, which is not punk at all. No. There's no punk in Ghost in the Shell, but your setting is very much punk. There is a lot of punk in there, and I can see where that aspect comes in.
Well, there's this earnestness to it that's really refreshing. Like even Ghost in the Shell, which the anime was famously grim and serious, is seeing a revival of a more like upbeat kind of fun take on its setting with the new version of the show coming out soon. Like
the manga accurate version.
Yes.
Oh yeah, I heard about that.
No, you've tapped into something really great here. I think it's
thanks. And yeah, earnestness is the name of the game. And, I think that has been when we had no idea how people were going to react. Frankly, I was a little nervous. Like, man, horror is so much easier to sell. That's what I was thinking. I'm like, horror is so much easier to sell. The dark and the spooky. I'm not sure how people are going to resonate with this before announcement. So like I was sitting with that for about 2 years. Like, well, people may just be like, this is a little cringe. Take it easy. And I'm so grateful that people appreciate the earnestness and are going on
$10 million later.
Almost there. We're almost there. Yeah.
I think people are vibing with it.
Yeah, it's still surreal. I still pinch myself every morning when I check that number. So I'm just grateful.
Okay, so I wanted really quick. My roommate asked me to make sure and mention this. He's planning a game in Neon Odyssey, and his inspiration is the old 80s Saturday morning cartoon Pole Position. So wow. we're going to be a racing team that is also bounty hunters on the side.
Great. Love it. Captain Falcon style. Yeah.
Very cool.
Yeah.
So the inspirations are flowing freely.
Love that.
Vera, there's something. Go ahead, Mikey.
No, I'm just saying I love that idea, and you should hopefully be able to have all the tools that you need to, be the. And that's kind of what I was craving, like from something from Star Wars, of like, give me a show where it's a group of racers that go across the galaxy, they do a cool ass race, and then they have some sort of like action adventure thing. Like, what's better than that? And so that sounds like a really fun campaign.
Well, there's something I definitely want you to talk to Vera about, because I know she's going to enjoy this a lot. But in Neon Odyssey, there is a wholly different version of the Feywild from traditional Dungeons and Dragons. And I believe, Mikey, correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe it's called the Hypergrid.
The Feywild, we do have a Hypergrid,
Right.
but the version of the analog to the Feywild is called Arcadia.
Arcadia,
where
yes,
it
thank
goes
you.
beyond the hypergrid. Yeah.
So why don't could you do us a favor and tell us what the hypergrid is, and then get to Arcadia?
So, I mean, in order to basically apply, science fiction and a lot of that stuff, but still incorporate the system of Dungeons and Dragons, we had to kind of do a lot of world building that supported that. And so the hypergrid is effectively this digital layer that basically, from when the galaxy existed, Derek on our team has articulated where the galaxy came Wi-Fi enabled. Where's this digital realm that kind of evokes the Matrix or the grid from Tron, of where it connects all technological things. It also allows for magic to happen in certain ways, one of the power sources. And so it's this digital layer that, for a D&D equivalent might be the maybe the ethereal plane, something like that. That's kind of, or the astral plane that's kind of over everything. And then as soon as sapient beings came to be in the galaxy, and imagination and whimsy and ideas came to be, it kind of corrupted that, adjusted it, split off this realm of imagination, of dreams, and a video game logic called Arcadia. And so there, you have these digital beings that are Fey type, right? We have our version of every creature type in Dungeons and Dragons 5th edition, 5.5e. And it's video game logic where there's levels and worlds and bosses. And also not just video game, there's also vibes of Saturday morning cartoon, like your Strawberry Shortcake or your Candyland type vibes. The realm of imagination where ideas and dreams and whimsy, your vibes of the 90s Lisa Frank Trapper Keeper, right? The popularity of Beanie Babies, right? That sort of vibe and maximalism of the 80s and 90s, I think, is definitely also part and parcel with Arcadia. That has been very fun to play in.
No, it's fantastic stuff. I often tell people that a underserved variety of world building that is, to me, evocative of like Akira Toriyama, like Dragon Ball, is just putting in everything you think is really fucking cool and making it work however you can. And I see so many wonderful touchstones just everywhere through your project. I was so excited when I first looked into it and saw some sort of a murderous clown-esque figure out there in outer space. Just interesting.
Yeah, I know. Where did the clown come from? The murderous clown from beyond.
Yeah, from beyond the stars, exactly.
Yeah.
You got a sort of foxish cloud skirting bounty hunter. It's just so cool. Like it's the kind of setting that feels like you could build anything that you're inspired by and get back to that like inner child and have a lot of fun in it.
That's the goal of where, it's really the opposite of Crooked Moon across the board, where Crooked Moon very much was built around the tent pole of this behemoth 350-page adventure path campaign, where it's very narrow. It's a singular story. It's definitely more linear than your classic sandbox vibe. And we wanted to do that in order to have, to make it easier, hopefully, for new GMs to run, where all of the tools are there to hopefully hit some emotional notes. There's kind of a little bit of plug and play. And is very kind of, here's building to this one experience that we're trying to tailor. Neon Odyssey is the opposite of, we're like, we can't have a singular adventure because the touchstones and the themes and the inspirations are so much and so varied. We want to give you the tools. If you want to run the Saturday morning racer bounty hunter cartoon, you can do that. If you want to go get dropped into the swarms of bugs and kill them for the sake of humanoidanity and like do that, you can do that, right? You know, you want to have the grand space opera where you get in the middle of intergalactic war from being a farm boy or a farm girl or something like that, all the way mixed up to getting mixed up between these huge galactic conflicts. You can do that. If you want to do a more gritty, you know, on the streets of a mega city that doesn't leave that world, but it's in the neon soaked streets of, and there's corpos and there's revolutionaries, you can do that too, right? And everything in between. We wanted to make sure that whatever you're inspired by, whatever touchstones excite you, not only do you have the options to create characters for that with 52 subclasses and 42 species, that the GMs also have the touchstones and the tools to build the campaigns that they want.
Yeah, like, I love Warhammer. I love writing for the setting. I love exploring it, but it is the kind of system where new players will come in and they will offer an idea, and as the GM, you have to say, well, no, but you could do this other thing. This seems like a yes and system where not only can you do that, but you can make it cool in this way, and this way, and this way.
Yeah, I mean, that's awesome. And that is really the idea of where, you know, and we want it to be, obviously there's like canon of the setting that we're offering, but like you said, it's like you have the tools as a GM to make it your own. Just because we don't have a world or we don't have something that we put in the book, hopefully you're inspired enough to say, oh yeah, of course that exists, or it works like that, and here's this extra cool thing you can do. So yeah, the yes and is something that I'm hoping a lot of GMs use while they're playing Neon Odyssey.
We got a super chat from the Exiled One. Thank you very much, sir. He says, thank you for the breath of fresh air. I'm just about exhausted of Grimdark, and I'll be putting some cash towards this project.
Thank you. That means a lot. Really appreciate the support.
Okay, I've got to ask a question about what you were just discussing. Robin Laws calls it the core activity, right? Mm-hmm. Which basically boils down to three things. Who are we? What are we doing? And why? And in Neon Odyssey, what's the answer to that?
So there's a variety of ways that you can play it, but I think that the way that we're thinking of it, the quintessential Neon Odyssey experience is that who are we? You are a group of Outrunners, and Outrunner is our in-universe term that could be your group of bounty hunters. Are you a group of salvagers? Are you a group of explorers? It's the D&D adventuring party, but it might be a little bit. It also has the vibe of the down on your luck Cowboy Bebop, going from job to job. The world is expensive. Ships are expensive. Debt is a system that we have in this campaign. And so really kind of so what is it? It's who you are. You're the Outrunners. What are you doing and why? Mm-hmm. And so basically, I think that what are you doing? It's that you're going from job to job or from adventure to adventure. And whether it's collecting bounties, whether it is getting mixed up in the missions that you're going on, if it's more of an official military sort of vibe, however you're doing it, we're presenting missions. I think most of them, if not all of them, can be taken as bounties. But let's say you're a group of Outrunners, you're taking bounties, making it day to day, collecting the reward. But then the why, I think, is is kind of where the hope comes in, of where eventually through those jobs and where you may have started down on your luck, maybe you don't find fabulous wealth, maybe you don't save the galaxy to that extent, but as the song says, a reason to believe, or as the trailer has, find yourself among the stars, of where you gather and hopefully you build that found family, that connection between the characters, where they all find a reason to believe, where the characters all go on their various arcs and together separately, however you want to play it. And that's kind of the why of where it's kind of you're trying to find yourself, and then hopefully through this adventure and this setting, you will be able to do that by the time you finish that campaign. So that's once again, you can play in a variety of different ways, but I think that is like the quintessential Neon Odyssey experience.
Awesome. Great answer. Vera, what's your next question about Neon Odyssey?
It sort of relates to this. I note that you have systems for a couple of very evocative and cool activities. I'm wondering how you narrowed down that you wanted to focus on building out systems for bounty hunting, racing, gambling, entertainment, and what that process was like. Because to me, those are all competitive, intriguing, perhaps rivalry building, setting enhancers. And some of them are challenging to design around.
Yeah. And, there are some that are still still are further along in development than others, right? You know, we have first drafts of much of that, but we're doing active playtests. We actually have a playtest packet that we're currently running. First, it was for our VIPs during pre-launch. Now everybody has access to it and getting feedback from that, and we're actively tweaking. But when it comes to the systems that we wanted to do, it really was about the touchstones of what is archetypical.
Yeah.
What are the trope? What are the trope? And here at Evantris, we don't view trope as a bad word. A lot of folks, I know that in certain tabletop publishing, they do, but we don't. We think, what is archetypical? What are the tropes? What are the things that people are going to want to do? Well, okay, obviously vehicles and starship combat. That's obvious. And then we think about, okay, well, what else is kind of really fun and will make this sci-fi or space opera setting feel alive? And so, okay, well, you got to go with the Cowboy Bebop or vibes of the space casinos. You got to have space casinos. Okay, well, got to have game. And then, like, you know, at least for me, my brain I was the right age for my brain chemistry to be forever changed by the pod racing scene in Star Wars Episode 1. And I was a massive F-Zero fan. And so I'm like, well, you got to have, I mean, galactic racing is just awesome. And it's been a thing that has been, you know, I think there's a lot of racing shows and franchises that are at least quasi sci-fi, right? Or science fantasy in a variety of ways. And things like, you know, and then once again, the bounty hunting were very much inspired by Cowboy Bebop. It's one of our huge inspirations, but there's bounty hunting is just a big part of space opera and science fantasy. That we wanted to, Trigon. I mean, all of the bounty hunting in Star Wars. I mean, back when before the EU got nuked by Disney, right? I had that giant book of the bounty hunting stories that had all of the, you know, that was even before the prequels, I think. You know, that had all the stories where it was such an evocative part of the Star Wars canon as well. These bounty hunters, even though they only show up for like 10 seconds. In Empire, and Boba Fett shows up a little bit more than that. But like, that was such a quintessential, exactly right, you know, and so that was so quintessential. It was really about finding those things that people were getting excited about. And then when it came to stress and entertainment, we wanted to kind of go back to the maximalism and the focus on themed entertainment of the 90s and the 80s when that was a big deal. And so, like, you know, we wanted to make sure that there's TV shows in our setting. It's not, oh, we're going to the Projectortron where there is a holocast. Like, no, there's shows, there's video games, there's movies, there's fast food, there's theme parks, and you don't have to do all the mental gymnastics to kind of come up with all these names. We're kind of, and it also grounds the setting in a way, despite having aliens and demons in certain ways, right? And all of this fantastical stuff. We wanted to replicate that and have a reason for you to be excited for the weekend. And have a mechanical reason for you to, okay, we've been working hard. Let's take a weekend. Let's go to the mall, right? Let's go to the mall. And even if we don't need to buy magic items to get the better gun, there's actually a reason for us to go to the equivalent of the Rainforest Cafe. You know what I mean? And so I think that kind of things that hits at all of the North Stars that we're inspired by, we wanted to make sure that was reflected in the systems.
Might this play into your upgraded downtime rules?
Yes, exactly right. Yeah, that's all part of it. So entertainment and stress is part of the downtime, right? So in your downtime, you know, you can, and this is all optional, right? It's all in our expansion pack. If you don't want to deal with that and you don't want to get as crunchy, you can totally not use that. But basically, if you're going without that entertainment and the downtime, you're going to build up stress that'll affect you negatively. So there is a reason, if you want to have the system, to go check out a movie, go to a concert, go to an arcade. Right, where it isn't about just getting better loot to kill things better. It's about and then that also leads to really fun, thematic, narrative, and character moments that we're hoping to encourage to give a little bit of mechanical reward for that as well.
Yeah, I mean, that does so much for the setting tonally, too. In a more grimdark setting, downtime is about chores. You have the time to take care of your obligations and responsibilities. Here, like, not only is there this environment where the players can have their characters experience fun and joy, there's the narrative consequence of that.
I love it. And the subclasses are fascinating. Well, there's a new class and some subclasses, but rumor has it, and I would like to just throw this out there as something that I've heard that I haven't corroborated, but rumor has it there's a barbarian subclass around having a an item of power that can
Yep.
transform you when
Yep.
you hold it aloft, and fabulous secret powers are revealed to you.
Yep.
When this happens.
That is the eternal juggernaut. The juggernaut is our version of the barbarian, and so instead of rage, it's surge, and it's kind of more of this well of kinetic energy that's inside of you that can be expressed in different ways. And this is, you found a magical sword or a tiara or anything, a vessel of power, and you go, instead of, you know, enraging, you surge and you activate this magical transformation. And some people have said they're going to do a Kamen Rider Power Rangers vibe. Some people said they're going to do a magical girl Sailor Scout vibe. Some people, if you want to be Lion-O or He-Man or She-Ra or all of that, right, you have the power by the equivalent of the legally distinct power of Grayskull. You know, you have the power. And we also have like a thing of mechanically of where if you want to basically do it and you fight the bad guys and you go back to your normal form, they can't tell that it's the same person unless they roll like a 20 investigation check, I think.
Nice.
And so we wanted to basically have that flavor of, with our subclasses, we want to make sure that we had a wide variety of expressions of, where like for your Juggernaut, you can just be the big hulking monster rampager. It's almost like a kaiju, smashing, grabbing a dude, hit another dude, ripping people's arms off. You can do that. You want to be the scrapper road warrior with like the chains and the scrap guns and all of that. You can do that. You want to be kind of more of the magic-y, you know, I have the power. You can do that, right? And so we wanted to make sure that there was a variety of thematic expressions for folks. Once again, we got to fill a whole galaxy. And so I'm very excited about the subclasses.
We have a super chat from Volcano. Vera, do you want to read this one?
I don't have a sword to hold aloft to you. By the power of beige cranium. Ah!
Exactly right.
See, it's legally distinct, so you could say, I have the power of attorney.
Exactly right. Incredible.
I love it. Okay, this is amazing. There are so many just awesome subclasses. I love the reimagining of the Ranger as the Tracer, for example, which is very much in the bounty hunting arena, which I think is really, really cool. But there's also a brand new main class called the Machinist. Is that correct?
Yes. Yes, there is a new class called the Machinist, and this is an inventor, a mechanic, an engineer who build. They don't make magic items, but they unlock schematics that allows them to create gadgets or upgrade pieces of gear that allows for a lot of customization. And you can really, we wanted to make sure that you could really kind of pick your specialization. You wanted to be kind of even outside of the subclasses, of where if you want to be more focusing on weapons and, you know, being better at shooting, you can do that. If you want to focus on having your little robotic buddy sidekick, your robo pug or elsewhere, you can do that. If you wanted to basically focus on hypertech or our version of magic that builds these tools that make you do all sorts of weird and crazy things with hypergrid, you can do that as well. And so that was a really important thematic gap that was left on the table when we went from was available in the SRD, the system reference document that we are legally allowed to publish with for a 5.5e publisher. And you know, we wanted to do it. We wanted to make the the machinist, the inventor and engineer mechanic class that we've all been wanting for years.
Yeah, and there's so much room for expression within each of these, and that matters a lot at the table. Like being able to evoke different energies with a similar base mechanical set does a lot for your turns, what it feels like to play the character, to distinguish from others in the setting. Like, this is not just good for the vibes, it's also good for the feeling of developing over a campaign.
And so my understanding, again, this is just stuff I've sourced from the internet, and it may not entirely be true because it's the internet. And I want to just say it out loud, though, so that Mikey can say yes or no to these following things. But I've read online that the scale of the setting is 6 fully detailed star systems and 60 planets. Is that correct?
So we actually have there's 6 realms, extraplanar realms. So we have 30 worlds that we're going to have full gazetteers. And so those will basically be either worlds or there's a couple of like nearly planet-sized space stations. But basically 30 major gazetteer areas across book 2 and book 3, the Cosmic Codex and the Overdrive expansion. And then we have 6 like extraplanar realms. So Arcadia is one of those. The Hypergrid is one of those. One of those is called the Harmony. That's also overlaid. It's the mystical force of life and death that kind of connects all living things and spreads throughout the galaxy. That might evoke the force or the life stream that's revived, or the spirit world. And then Cacophony, which is kind of our version of that's a corrupted sub realm, or rather it's a corruption of the Harmony that has our version of fiends that are called the Discordant. And those are either your killer clowns, your demonic bugs that are endless swarming, your unstoppable robots, or your basically space Halloween, your sci-fi vampires. And then finally we have Agathos, which is the realm of the gods, the realm of the stars that kind of encapsulates actually no, there's one more after that that encircles the whole galaxy. And that's where there's the realm of the constellations of this almost kind of like Greco-Roman vibes, where the gods aren't inherently necessarily good or evil. They care about their tenets and how much you care about their tenets. And then finally, beyond the galaxy is the abyssal void, what was existed before the galaxy. People say, well, that will exist after, where the deep exists, these horrible, unknowable aberrations. That's very deep sea vibe.
That's awesome. I mean, that sounds amazing. And there's over 250 monsters in the bestiary. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Wow, that's
250 monsters. And then I think that when you include like enemy ships, it's like over 300. So we'll have just as far as monsters and monster stat blocks for on foot scale, we have over 250, and then we have a whole bunch of enemies to fight when you're in space.
Space combat is, of course, something a lot of people are interested in. And my understanding is that you guys have put some real work into some very evocative space combat mechanics.
Yeah.
Missile locks, barrel rolls, stuff like that.
Oh, yeah. We've got all sorts of stunts. I mean, it requires a hex grid, right? We wanted to have facing be important. We wanted to have, the requirement to move. So you don't just basically line up and face each other and just shoot. And kind of have static combat there, and it is quite crunchy, but I think it's a cinematic crunch, where I think that the crunchy rules lead to cinematic moments, and we've been playtesting it for over a year now at this point, and we're still making tweaks and we're still making adjustments. But our lead designer on the Advantress side, Dan Dillon, has done an amazing job bringing his love of science fiction and Star Wars dogfighting and all of that in a way that, at least for me when I play it, is extremely fun. And we also have mech combat as well as part of that starship combat, and that's been really, really fun to play. We have one of our 5 or 6 campaigns that we're running is basically just a mecha anime in D&D, and we're actually playing that tonight. Like right after I end this, I'm going to go play with my robots.
Nice.
Very cool.
So my roommate wants to know, can we build our own vehicles?
Yes, and so we have a vehicle upgrade system where you should be able to take the chassis, whatever you want, and then make the relevant customizations. That will definitely be part of the Overdrive expansion. And so we'll have baseline stuff that you can just pick and choose from for folks who don't want to have to kind of get all nitty gritty. But then again, if you want to basically customize and upgrade your vehicle and your starship however you want and make it yours, you will have the tools to do that.
That's awesome. And we have yet another super chat from Lore Master
Oh,
Sotek.
hey, Sotek, let's go.
He says, it's Mikey the effing goats. I'm a tad late to the stream, so forgive me if this has already been asked, but how broad is character customization? Can I play something like the best space dragon, Ridley?
I mean, I think that you absolutely could. I think that, character customization, hopefully there's something for everybody. We have 42 species, 52 subclasses. We have a bunch of backgrounds. For Ridley, we actually we have our species, the Saurian, which is our dinosaur people, and we have a bunch of different lineages, and one of them is the Skywing, which is basically you can be a pterosaur or flying reptile of your choice with wings on your shoulders, and if you want to be purple and be a fearsome bounty hunter, I think you could probably evoke that in a lot of different ways. I think you should absolutely be able to make a fearsome space pirate and pick some spells or features that gives you some awesome plasma breath or fire breath, and you should absolutely be able to do that.
That's great.
So just to build on that, we had someone ask about how the backgrounds work in Neon Odyssey. How does a character like this Ridley-esque fearsome bounty hunter become an Outrunner?
Yeah, so I mean, we wanted to make sure that we have 24 backgrounds. I think they're all in book 1, the Outrunners handbook, and we wanted to make sure that that you could basically pick the background of your choice that should hopefully cover all of your typical classic thematic archetypical tropey origins for the for your sci-fi or space opera characters. The one thing that we don't have is kind of your isekai, like your John Carter or your Captain N. We didn't want to canonize that in our world where you get isekai'd from the real world and you're from America, you're from Ohio. We're not doing that. But as far as all of that, and then that also kind of interweaves into our profession system, which is that is an optional system that's in the Overdrive expansion, that if you wanted to basically be a someone who came from, you were a caretaker, whether you were a doctor or you tended to alien beasts on a farm, right? And then you became an ace pilot, you would pick the caretaker background, and then your profession would be the ace pilot. And that's basically a track of additional feats that you get that kind of goes up as you level up, where you can go and advance up this track of feat for your profession. Or you can basically just take like the first level of, a couple of them and basically be more of a jack of all trades to really represent that kind of character that you want to play. And one of the things that we really wanted to do is to make sure that the really archetypical stuff like ace pilot, smuggler, those things in sci-fi are not locked behind any class, any subclass, that any class, subclass, species can be the ace pilot. They can be the smuggler. They can live that sort of fantasy that's so archetypical. And so that's why we wanted to make sure we had that profession system. So you could pick any class, have any character, and still, customize your background and your profession to still have that live the trope of your dreams.
Oh yeah, and that lets you be so evocative with your team compositions. You have a group, like you were talking earlier about a group of Outrunners that races during the day and bounty hunts at night. You could have the whole Red Line squad. You could have a driver. You could have a mechanic. You could have a promoter.
Oh yeah,
and they could have any classes you want to go with that.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And if you wanted to have everyone be a racer profession, and then they have their backgrounds customized to more of their subclasses, or if you wanted to kind of have them all just have their own profession, but you all still race, everyone can still hop in the cockpit of a racing vehicle and still enjoy our racing rules. So it's hopefully people enjoy it.
Well, I got to say, as a man of a certain age, I do really very much appreciate the term Outrunner, because at once it's a number of things. First of all, it reminds me of Shadowrunners from the late 80s, which is awesome. Mm-hmm. It also reminds me, of course, of the video game series Outrun, which not only is a great video game, but also features a soundtrack style that is very evocative of the Midnights, for example, amongst the other new retro wave bands. Yep. So Outrunner as a term for the adventuring party is chef's kiss. I could not think of a better way to say it.
That actually was a relatively late invention, where we were calling it the Bounty Hunter's Handbook, and we're like, well, not everybody's a bounty hunter. Right? Like, we don't want to pigeonhole you. Like, we need to come up with a term that is kind of like a wayfarer or a space vagabond, or what is our version of the adventurer. And Richie and I were just kind of having a conversation in the car, and we just kind of, the term Outrunner came up, and like, not only like is Outrun responsible for the synthwave aesthetic, right? Like, it's perfect, right? It's a music genre, it's an aesthetic. It also feels sci-fi. It just basically all kind of came together. And so, thank you. I mean, I'm glad we thought of it, because I don't know what the heck we would have chosen if we didn't think of that.
No, it's so evocative, because it suggests that you're just on the cusp of being caught, but you're keeping ahead of them. You're outrunning them. Like, it's inherently exciting, whatever you're doing.
I agree. Definitely one of the top 10, like, I am an adventurer names in the industry, I would say.
Well, it's more fun than just saying the party, the adventurers.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
party too, yeah.
Yeah.
It's stylish.
My roommate also wants to know if we have a possibility of playing a ape-like species.
So we don't have any simian species, but we do have a wonderful catch-all species called the bitling. And so the bitling is from Arcadia. They are a Fey type player species that is from Arcadia itself. And that is inspired by basically the 90s animal mascots across
Yes.
video games,
Yes.
across, commercials and all that sort of thing. What is it from Smiling Friends Quibbly, right? Like that archetype trope of the 90s mascot when everyone was trying to do the mascots. We basically have a player species. So where we have a couple of, animal like species, but we know that there's always going to be someone who wants to have another one. We have the Lyca, which are our canine species. We have the Merexians, which are mollusks, like, cephalopod, crustacean, mollusk vibe. We have our saurians, which are dinosaurs. We have the Zephyrsa, which are our cloud bears. But if there is an animal that is missing, you can always play a Donkey Kong or Diddy Kong or Cranky Kong inspired or whatever version of a bitling if you did want to play a simian species.
Is there something like a mascot that you can get for your team, like a Snarf or a T-Bob, if you will? Maybe not a Scrappy Doo. Let's avoid that. But
we do have a collection of stat blocks that are inspired by our familiars from the Crooked Moon, where they have abilities that are going to be beneficial to their user in some way. And so we do have a little alien buddy where the art is this cute little mascot looking alien squirrel thing. And we have one basically for nearly every creature type. So from dragon, elemental, ooze, we even have a fiend and I think an undead even. So yeah, I mean, and construct. So we have a wide variety of the cute little mascot. If you want to have your own personal buddy, or if you want kind of the party mascot like the Snarf, we should have the tools for you to do it.
Nice. That's amazing. All right, Vera, what do you want to know? I know you're waiting.
I remain so charmed. This feels like a system where you can run the live action Speed Racer movie. Like it's so exciting to me.
Well, I feel like I may have maybe put a little too much influence by talking about racing early on. But Redline was something I was thinking of for sure.
Redline is wild.
That old music video for Going the Distance, for example.
Oh, it's so freaking cool.
Yeah, I mean, if you want to go as bombastic and wild as Redline, and just go completely absurd off the wall, you can absolutely do that. Or if you want to ground it, right? It's and we're showing in the campaigns that we're playing. And the reason why we're playing so many of them is that we're basically spacifying and Neon Odyssey-ifying our popular campaigns. We have a brand new campaign called Waltz for Eternity. That's our kind of mecha anime inspired campaign. And then we have the Stardust Rhapsody campaign that started it all. It's existed for years, and that's kind of what we base Neon Odyssey on. And we wanted to show the variety of tones and themes and vibes. And so, you can go as off the wall, bombastic, absurd, but you can also have it be very grounded and human and real. And so it's really just about, what session zeros are going to be very important. And I'll make sure we include the session zero and alignment and all of that in our introduction. But I think that you should be able to your mileage should hopefully be able to vary and customize it as much as you want.
Vera and I have a whole episode on session zero.
Nice. It's important. It's extremely important.
Yes. We've got a vibes-based question from Aeromob.
Whoops, sorry. Which one are you clicking on? Go ahead. You click it.
I'm clicking.
There you go.
Thank you for the super chat. Aeromob asks, yeah, but can I brain sync with the Eldritch Biomech haunted by the ghost of my girlfriend to fire some sort of beam attack?
What I'll say to that is that flavor is free. Is what I will say to that.
Get in the damn robot, Aeromob.
Get in the robot. Get in the damn robot. What I say is we do have mech rolls, and you should be able to get some pretty cool beam attacks. And if you want to flavor it as it's haunted by a ghost and you bio fuse with it, go for it. And I think that that's kind of the thing of where we want to make sure that things that we are offering enough thematic guidance, but we aren't pigeonholing to the point that we're prescribing the theming and the flavoring. And I even think that's something that like that D&D has been trying to do more across the board, of where they're saying that like, hey, Eldritch Blast doesn't look like just like these purple bolts, right? It could look like anything you want it to, right? Like you can flavor it however you want it to. And we want to make sure that like, hey, you have our permission to flavor. You don't need our permission, but you have it anyway to flavor your spells, your vibe, your theme. If you want to have your, like, we're thinking about mecha really in terms of like the Gundam cockpits where you have like the controls and you're punching it. If you want to do like you're walking around like Pacific Rim, right? If you're doing it like that, or is it like G Gundam where you get the latex suit on and you're like, you know, doing the thing,
Keep
go
cut.
for it, right?
Love
There's nothing stopping you from doing that and basically kind of living the space opera fantasy that you're into.
In the animation, there's a scene where the elf character just does this with his hand, and he's clearly like shooting something. And I'm like, is that Eldritch Blast? What is he doing there? That's so cool. He's just doing a gun with his fingers, and
that's actually part of his subclass. He's the God Hand disciple, so he's a monk, and so you see that he has these cool enhanced martial arts. But then you're able to do range attacks that count as monk attacks, and so he's able to finger a little bit of spirit gun type vibes.
Finger gun. I love it.
Yeah, exactly right. Exactly right.
Uramesh, you'd be proud.
Exactly.
That's so good.
The Exiled One says, I've got my deluxe trilogy pledged.
All right.
Hey, go. That's great, Exiled One.
Remember, you can contribute to the Kickstarter right now. There's a link below.
It's still going, and that's why we have the link up today, because they're alive through July. Would you say June? It's live through June 3rd.
We end on June 3rd at 11:59 p.m. Eastern.
June 3rd. Yeah, so you got just
June 3rd, and so we will be live on Legends of Adventures. We'll be live on YouTube, live on Twitch on the final day, basically all day until the bitter end, and we'll see where we get. We'll do, a final drive. The final day for the Crooked Moon was a wild experience, and it was a fun time. So if you don't have anything to do on June 3rd, join us.
Got another super chat here from Sotek. You want to read this one, Vera?
Yeah, thank you so much, Sotek. What types of adventures does the book support for guiding GMs? Does it mostly revolve around space exploration, or is there stuff for generating planets and going down to worlds as well?
So, if you want to stay mostly in space, you should be able to do that. But, we have a lot of tools and gazetteers for on-world exploration, and we have all sorts of variety of themes. If you want your dinosaur planet, we've got that. If you want your junker world planet, we've got that, right? We've got all sorts of a wide variety that, once again, is pretty your archetypical things you would expect. Your mega city planet, right? We got that.
Nice.
But we will have tools. If you want to make your own worlds, you should have the tools to be able to build that. You want to make your own missions, you should be able to have the tools to build that. And so we want to make sure that, that when you look through the gazetteers of the various worlds, the various realms, the various creatures that we have in our bestiary, that you will be able to build the kind of campaign that you want. And so you should be able to, if you want to stay mostly like have a lot of space encounters. We also have additional products in the Kickstarter. We have 2 decks. We have world encounters and space encounters as additional encounters that we can't cram into the book, because we've realized that you run out of page space very quickly. Which is something that we had to learn the hard way with Crooked Moon, which ended up being 632 pages when we only plan on it being 400, only 400, and it ended up being a behemoth. We still had to cut a lot. So there should be a wide variety of, and if you want to basically have things where you're hopping from realms, we should have, you want to go to Arcadia and then go to the hypergrid and then go to the Harmony on a spirit quest. Go for it.
Now, as a guy who's been around the block a few times and made a few games, I can tell you that one of my first project was Creatures Anathema for 40K, and then Rogue Trader, of course, the next year. And both of those projects ended up way over on word count. It is a very common thing early on to be like, oh, I'm going to put all this stuff in. And then you realize during layout, you're like, there is no way this is going to fit. So trust me when I say that is, that happens to everybody. So don't feel too bad. The
number of times we've had to go to our wonderful graphic design team and be like, okay, I'm very sorry. I'm very sorry. Is there any way this can fit? Is there any way we can make this fit? And like, we had in the Crooked Moon, we had the behemoth of the adventure, and we're like, well, maybe like this chapter, in order for us to hit all these things that we want and all of this vibe, it's like maybe we can get it done in like 14 pages. And oh no, it's 26. And I'm like, well, that was after editing. It wasn't 38. And so, it's like, well, it is what it is. 28 pages. And so, that was a huge learning.
And you do this fantastic art as well. And the nicer your page layout is with cooler margins, the more your bleed starts to expand. And
I should tell you guys the story of the Wrath of Glory free RPG Day adventure, because that went from a tiny booklet to a full bound book. It was extremely huge. It's one of the biggest projects ever for free RPG Days. Just wild. But yeah, that's it is a common thing. But it's cool that I guess for someone like myself, it's kind of nice to know that you're not entirely infallible.
No, God,
because it looks so damn good. It just looks so damn good that I'm sitting here like, my God, that looks amazing. And then to find out, they are people. They do mess up just like me. Okay, thank God.
I've fucked up more times. It's one of those things of I'm very open about how many mistakes we made and I made on Crooked Moon, and the how painful that process was, and the learning of basically when we launched it. I don't know if folks at home know this. There's actually very little public resources, very very few places to kind of how to kickstart, how to go and launch your own publishing company, and we didn't know anybody in the industry, and so it was just we did all the research we possibly could find, and we still knew absolutely nothing. And then we had all of this scope, all of these decisions, all of this, and then suddenly, as soon as we hit 2 million, we started making friends in the industry, and we started talking to people, and they were like, "How the fuck are you going to do this? Oh my gosh, how are you going to do this?" And then we were like, "Uh-oh." And so basically, we learned lifetimes of lessons. And I don't know if this is the topic of this podcast, but I'm grateful for every beating I've had, every mistake that I've made, every single blow that I've taken. I have I'm a recovering alcoholic. I'll be 5 years this summer, of where I have this approach to the failure and and mistakes, of where I'm grateful for all of it, as long as I'm learning. You only lose if you give up or if you don't learn, and that's the only time you ever lose anything. And so I am so grateful, and I will say on the Crooked Moon, I'm extremely proud of what we did on the Crooked Moon, and the whole team did an amazing job. But that said, there were still a lot of mistakes. Are there things I would go back and change and do differently? Absolutely. We're applying those lessons in Neon Odyssey. Are we going to make mistakes? Absolutely. Am I going to make mistakes? Absolutely. So it's inevitable. And if you're not a lifelong learner, I don't know what you're doing. So anyway, that's thank you for coming to my TED Talk.
Hey, if you do anything creative, listen to this. This is the best advice you're going to get.
Yeah. Well, there's a book called Creativity Inc. That the Pixar guys wrote. And it's fantastic, because one of the earliest chapters it says is to fail early and fail often. And that's the best way to make a superior creative endeavor.
Yeah. And it really is. And I recommend everyone fail as much as you possibly can, as quickly as you can, because then you're going to be learning those lessons. And it honestly is the most torturous thing, of where I'm writing a chapter, and I submit a chapter to editors and all of that, and I write the next chapter. And by the time I finish that second chapter, I've learned. I'm like, oh my God, I messed up. I wish I could go back and edit the last one and do that, but we don't have time. And then third chapter, oh my God. And so every single time you're learning and growing, you have to accept it has to be done at some point. But even from chapter to chapter in the Crooked Moon was oh my gosh, I wish I could go back and edit it and redo it, but you can't keep redoing it. And so that's also about giving yourself grace and learning when something is done, or else it'll never get finished and it'll never get published.
Now this may be a little bit boring for our audience, so I want to warn them ahead of time. I'm about to talk something that's a little bit inside baseball. It's a little bit about industry business wise, from somebody who's done a lot of Kickstarters like myself. And that is another thing I think you did really, really well, which is that you took the success of the Crooked Moon and you didn't just immediately blow all the money. You're like, no, let's set aside a big chunk of this, and invest in our future product, which is where you have the resources to do a full animated trailer with a fully done music by the midnight. You didn't have those resources before you did Crooked Moon. And that to me is something that a lot of people just didn't do very, like, famously, one of the biggest successes of the last 25 years was 7C as a Kickstarter. And there was an attempt made there to, like, okay, we're going to make a board game and we're going to invest in this and we're going to invest in that, but it didn't work out. Whereas you guys were a lot more laser focused, and I feel like the instant I saw that trailer for Neon Odyssey, I was like, these guys knew how to take the success of Crooked Moon and build on it to invest in the next thing and make that even bigger. And that is a rare thing in this industry. And again, sorry if it's boring to the audience. I just wanted to get it out there because for someone who's done a lot of behind the scenes stuff, I've done a lot of behind the scenes work. So it's such a good thing to do. Well done.
Well, thank you. And that was, a very explicit. The point of the Crooked Moon really was, people say, oh man, you guys are millionaires. You guys can just take the money and run. I'm like, I'm not doing this to we're doing this to build a publishing company. We're doing this I'm not thinking in terms of weeks or months. I'm thinking in terms of decades. Right. And so that was the purpose of the Crooked Moon. We wanted to create a great folk horror supplement. But, like you mentioned, is that we wanted to invest in the future of the company and the business. And so, all of it went back into reinvesting. We hired up a team. We're working on, every minute, as soon as every capability was done with their portion on Crooked Moon, they immediately got spin off on a Neon Odyssey for the most part. And we knew that, and we're very fortunate that we have the whole production side as well. We have YouTube and Patreon and all of that we're very grateful. We're very fortunate and privileged to be able to have that additional revenue stream to help us kind of build Avantris more broadly as a multimedia company. But I think it's one of those things of where we didn't want this to be, okay, this is the Crooked Moon and then we'll figure it out. We need to always be looking to the next thing because, when cash is king, right? And so, like, if you run out of money before you launch the next thing, you can't invest it in order to make the next thing as big of a success. And so having that forward vision, I think that we've, not to say we haven't made mistakes along the way, but we are very much focused on the long-term trajectory because we want to be making cool stuff for a long time, because that's why we're here. That's why we're doing it.
What's really cool? Fiscal responsibility.
And
I mean, I'm hungry for it. I got to be honest. I'm hungry for a lot of things like accountability and, and hope, but I'm also hungry for fiscal responsibility. So it's nice to hear about.
We're very grateful. We have some great folks. Richie, my twin brother. I am not at all the finance or the fiscal guy. That's him. And we have some great ops folks and folks that help keep us planning and once again it was that we definitely made a gambit on the Odyssey, and I think that the investment, we invest very heavily in art. I think that we probably, as far as TTRPG publishers, are one of the highest investors in art in the business. I think I could probably comfortably say that because we believe that art's extremely important as well as the writing and the game design. And the narrative, we believe that art informs narrative, informs game design, informs art, informs narrative, informs game design. And so it's basically, they all inform each other. And it's really important to help capture people's attention before they sink their teeth into the nitty gritty of the text.
Yeah, like I was talking the other day about how there's a fine arts component to interactive media in general, right? That's an important one. I was in the context of primarily video games, but in tabletop games, you're proving that here. I mean, your stretch goal for 10 million is a whole album of music to go with the game.
Like, it's going to happen. I mean, that's going to happen. I'm so excited for it.
We love music at Avantris, and what's kind of the thing that's kind of our not guilty pleasure. That's kind of where it's not a revenue driver by any means, but the Crooked Moon albums, we had 3 of those and we unlocked those, and we invested a tremendous amount of time, energy, and money into those. not because we knew that they would ever make the money back. Hopefully they do, but because we wanted to put out the beautiful music into the world. The Blasting Company they're generational talents. We had some amazing guest singers on the soundtrack album, and we just wanted to put out something we wanted to exist in the world. And that's how we feel about this. Max Cruz, who composed and performed Among the Stars, which is our announcement trailer, which is an absolute banger. And Max Cruz is an amazing collaborator. We worked with him forever ago when he composed the Stardust Rhapsody anthem when we first launched that campaign. And it's really funny. We launched the campaign, I think, in 2023, like shortly before Crooked Moon. And then after Crooked Moon, Max reached out, like this was, God, it had almost 3 years ago at this point. And he's like, hey, when you guys do the Stardust Rhapsody Kickstarter, like hit me up. And here we are years later. And so he's doing one album for us. He's hopefully when we unlock the 10 million, he's going to do another album. And it's just vibes. I mean, he hits the vibes so well. And so anyway, very excited to have 2 full albums.
I'm reminded of the Cursed RPGs episode we did a while back where we thought we knew how bad some of these RPGs out there were, and then we learned they were even worse. And one of the things that we learned was that Fatal, which is famously the benchmark for bad RPGs, has a soundtrack.
Wow.
And we were like, really? This gets a soundtrack? But your game, I'm like, yes, please, absolutely, give us the soundtrack.
I will say that Fatal's theme song is evocative of the experience of playing Fatal, so there is that. But I think that in Neon Odyssey's case, it's likely to be a real tone setter. Like, if you've ever had the privilege of being at a table where the DM is also the DJ and they're doing a really good job of setting the tone, there is magic to it, and you've tapped into that with the core concept of the game. Like, music is so important at the essence of the aesthetic, and it just makes sense. I get it.
Yeah, I mean, that was always my cheat code as a GM when we had our home games back before and even when we started streaming, when I didn't give a heck about copyright or or DMCA, and I didn't know anything about that. Like, I would tailor the playlist, and even as a player, like when the music is thematically appropriate, I am so much more immersed. I am so much more invested. And that was always my cheat code of where I would create these. I would assign like theme songs to villains or whatever, where it got to the point where if I did enough work as a GM, I'd have a pause, I'd cut off the music, and I'd hit play on the villain's theme song, on their theme song, and then everyone has this intense emotional reaction, and I haven't said anything yet. And then I go into talking and narrating, and then their minds are blown. And we want to basically give GMs the tools to basically set the tone the best they can. Obviously, Galaxy's a big place. There's a lot of different tones, but at the very least, they give them an immediate toolbox of songs that they can use to at least hit a wide variety of themes throughout. Yeah,
I'll throw this out there. If you guys ever decided to do a soundboard that people could use at their that would be pretty rad.
That's something I've never figured out. Yeah, sound effects and soundboards is something that I've never used, but I bet it could be used to great effect.
I use it in my Star Wars game on the weekend.
Nice. And
just having that blast door sound, or having the blaster sound, or having the droid scream, those are useful things to make it evocative. So I just threw that up there as a suggestion in case you hadn't thought of it yet.
I mean, we're at the point where, like, in our Waltz for Eternity, our mecha campaign, people in the comments make fun of us because, like, we're making the noises of us pressing the buttons and powering up and blasting forward, and they're like, these guys are like preschoolers, with their sound effects. And I'm like, hey man, I'm immersed. I don't care. I am immersed.
That's part of the fun.
Yeah, you know what I mean. Anyway, it's been, I'm happy to do it. I mean, a soundboard would be cool. I press a button and it goes the swing. All the great Gundam sound effects.
The new type thing.
Right, that would be pretty cool. Actually,
Q is also fun. Come on.
Yeah, well, if you wanted to, you could also do an artisanal soundboard, which is just literally you guys making up your own sound effects. It's literally pew pew instead of a blaster sound.
Yeah,
artisanal. It's artisanal. So we got a super chat from Moonchild Live 9971 who says, "First time chatter and new lover of Stardust Rhapsody. What has been harder, waking up to brainstorm a new stretch goal that'll be blown through in the morning, or improvising new jokes as chuckles?"
It's funny. I hate to make it sound so like obnoxious of where like it's kind of it is literally effortless to improvise that, because like my brain just shuts off. And like the Chuckles with certain characters that I play, for those at home who might know, Chuckles, Wygore, like Gary Goodberry, like just I don't know what happens. I don't know where I go. Just like whatever comes out, I guess I am technically responsible for, but like it just kind of just comes out, and I don't know where it comes from. And so that said, we had to scramble a little bit for stretch goals, and so we got some cool stuff. And what I will say, depending on how far we go, there have been some popular requests that we finally might be indulging here. But you know, who knows? We'll see how far we go.
Mysterious.
You know.
All right. Well, I need to turn this over to Vera for just a few minutes, but I will be back. But I'm so excited to hear more about this. So,
Roger that.
Just going to drop off for a little.
Yeah. All right. So, I noticed that a lot of the new classes, the refurbished and sci-fi-ified variants of the D&D 5.5 core, have ties to some of your other realms, your astral planes.
Yeah, we wanted to make sure that we had like a very clear power source, right, for each of the classes. And that was something where when we first started, we really hadn't thought about too much. And we realized, wait a minute, in order for the class to work without a subclass, that they need to have this thing. And so, for instance, the grid runners are wizards, and they're the master technomancers and coders and programmers of the hypergrid. And so they're able to use the hypergrid in order to basically rewrite reality, and that's how they cast their spells. And we wanted to make sure that there was a very clear explanation, and you know, most of the realm or variety of expressions from the subclasses, but we wanted to at least have an answer diegetically of where these fantastic powers are coming from.
Nice.
And so that was definitely a challenge to kind of get. There's a lot of 5e. There's a lot in Dungeons and Dragons, but I feel like we got there and are pretty satisfying.
Yeah, it works because that way you have a narrative link to like Arcadia. You can go there. You can take your party and outrun there potentially. You can visit from what the sounds of it. So.
Oh yeah, and yeah, we wanted to make sure that, and that was kind of the thing of where when we first envisioned this concept of the harmony, it was more of this metaphysical place. It was more of a power source rather than a place. And then we realized, well, wait a minute, all of the other places that we have, you can go. The harmony has to be an afterlife or a spirit world that you can go to. And I feel like that decision, although it was relatively late compared to the other realms, ended up in as far as our concepting and visual development process, one of the coolest realms that we had. So that was very fun. And so I think that we want people, and we wanted to make sure that when it comes to everything that we do, that everything that we provide is archetypical enough to the point where it's not like, well, in my setting it works like this, and in my setting here, please read these 200 pages before you can understand what's happening. We want to make sure we avoided that. And so they're tied to the realms, but hopefully they're still pulling on timeless and archetypical themes that our realms are using to justify or add more flavor and color and texture to it. But still, you don't need to know the whole setting to understand what the subclass is doing.
Yeah, it's elegant. Even just the imagery is evocative enough to engender really cool storytelling, I would say.
I wonder if there's some sort of curse that I could get from a discordant that would just like overwhelm me with all these really annoying notifications, just tons of them.
Oh yeah. We actually have. You can do that in a variety of ways. We have a subclass of the Grid Runner called the Virus, where they have like a digital malware that is in them, and they're able to spread it. And in one of our campaigns called Uprootorama, Nikki, who plays Peggy, who's this frog, basically like online scam artist. Basically, she like she's flaving her spells like pop-ups and like like lonely milfs in your area, and like you can't click them off fast enough, and that's like causing bane, or it's causing, you know, the negative spells that she's doing. And so you can flavor it like that. Absolutely.
Love it. We've got another super chat here from Watchdog. You want to read this one, Vera?
Yeah, Watchdog, thank you for the super chat. For Mikey, Watchdog asks, what do you believe makes the primalist stand out as opposed to the druid?
Yeah, I think that the primalist, you know, I feel like druids, at least for me, I've played a druid for, I think, a decade at this point, one of my favorite classes, feels very much tied to the woods in a lot of ways, and very much tied to the core of like the natural world. And while the primalists definitely deal in that, we wanted it to be tied to almost like this deep primordial like essence of the Big Bang, really, right? And so that we wanted to basically have it almost feel like there's an inherent elemental chaos to the class that they're tapping into that's less, you know, obviously the druid inherently is kind of more coded to the classic folkloric druids of Europe, right? We wanted this to be broad enough that we could have a science-based subclass of the Splicer, where they're tapping into the strange alien biology, and they're taking this essence and fusing it with their own biology to give them strange limbs or strange transformations. But we still wanted to have an archetypical thing of where you're communing with the world soul of a world that feels, I think that's probably the world speaker primalist is the most druid of our subclasses. You know, we still wanted to have that opportunity for flavor, but it's still something that is very planetary. It's not necessarily where I'm like protecting the wilds. If you're actually communing or drawing power from the core of the core of the planet that you're on, and whatever sort of pseudo emotional sentience that's there, almost evoking of like you're communing with Gaia in or the planet in Final Fantasy VII, like Aerith is doing, right? That sort of vibe where it's not kind of going out into nature necessarily, but you're actually like tapping into the essence of the world, and I think in a way that feels uniquely sci-fi.
Deep cut, but it feels like the Acroyer and the planet Spartak from the Micronauts comic books.
I have not heard that. That all sounds really cool though.
Bill Mantlo wrote that, who's just an amazing comic book writer. But yeah, it's that sounds really cool. So I love it.
Nice.
We got another super chat here from Lore Master of Zotek.
Peggy sold my damn 401k.
That's right. Right.
Peggy.
Emptied it. Absolutely emptied it. Yeah, Nikki's been doing this thing where she basically has been like running a different like really milquetoast scam every session, and that's been very funny to see. And so if you want to flavor it like that, it basically just really basic phishing scams, go for it.
Strong. So I noticed you got a lot of these different sources of power for the spells in the system, whether they're from the grid or drawn from the soul of the planet itself. What does it mean for magic items?
Yeah, so we have a concept called hypertech. Excuse me. Nice. Called hypertech that allows us to basically we have our basic equipment, and we have a more robust list of basic equipment and weapons. We have strength-based range weapons. We have a wide variety of, I think the range weapons are the ones, we have a lot of cool guns like carbines, plasma, and a lot of different damage types as well, because we've got to be able to shoot lasers, and that's basic level tech. But for things that go beyond equipment or standard items or armor, that's still magic is hypertech, which is basically infused with an elevated level of connection to the hypergrid, which effectively is magic is science and science is magic. And so it's magical technology that allows us to have magic items that still feel sci-fi. That said, we still have things that feel like more traditional magic items. There are the ancient relics of, the eldest species that created the galaxy, or the strange mystical crystal relics that you might find that have that kind of power and that really tap into the science fantasy side of the genre. We still have all of that for sure, but the hypertech really allows us to get creative with the theming and have these gadgets and technological devices that are still magic items under that hypertech umbrella.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I follow. It was Star Wars week recently, and I was thinking a lot about how really sci-fi and fantasy media have a lot in common from their thematic origins. You were talking earlier about the great inspirations for the setting, the heroic epics that go into it, and I think that's a great place to draw from. Like,
yeah, I mean, a lot of the sci-fi purists say that, like, you know, it's Star Wars even close to sci-fi. It's really a fantasy western in space, and like, so it's one of those things of where it's like, how do you? And so we wanted to make sure that we struck that right balance. Say, okay, if you get the science out of here, we don't care.
I mean, technically, Star Wars is more samurai than Western.
Oh, yeah.
Honestly.
Well, Westerns are just samurai movies, so it's all the same. It's all the same.
It's all shared DNA.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, there's a lot of. I mean, I'm a super movie guy. I could go on at length about the differences and similarities between westerns and samurai films. But God, I love everything we've seen so far for Neon Odyssey. I'm really excited to play this game that my roommate's about to start up. There's a question he had about a mechanic called debt. Is that something you could talk about?
Yeah, so we wanted to make sure, and so it's one of those things of we're as optimistic and hopeful and escapist as the setting is. You can't escape debt, and we wanted to make sure that there was a tool, or let's say you wanted to start off your campaign with like, hey, we just want to blast off to the start of session 1. Start off with a ship. Normally, you'd have to like go and you'd have to do the jobs and then earn it and buy it. But if you want to start off with it, you can do it. And so things, and also the upkeep and the fantasy of being out of money, down on your luck, I think is a very important thing. Once again, it's optional, but it's an important element to the space opera we're trying to tell. And so we wanted to make sure that we had the opportunity to, if you want to basically, oh, shoot, I don't have enough fuel to get to X, Y, and Z. I don't have enough upkeep. We don't have the ammo. We need to make repairs. We can't afford it. Well, we can go to Nexus Financial and take out a loan, and that buys us time. And then that's tension. That's great tension, because then we have to pay it back. And nothing bad happens if you pay it back on time. But then if you start lapsing, there are different levels that go, and then there's worse and worse stacking things. And that becomes a really fun bit of tension and narrative that then once again reinforces the kind of adventures we're trying to tell. The wonderful designer Taimur Rahman, he has done an amazing job on a lot of across the book, but the systems especially, and the debt and economy. He's just been an absolute wizard, and so I'm very excited for folks to sink their teeth into that.
So the real final boss is capitalism.
I mean, you know, it's the real boss. You can't escape debt. Not in space. You know what I mean? Not they can't hear you scream, but they can find you and collect.
Wake up, superstar! Capitalism demands your sacrifice.
Well, that concept again is it's so essential to the vibe. Like you've debt in Firefly, Jabba the Hutt, the classic debtor. It gets to something archetypal again.
I don't have the money with me.
Yeah,
I can get you the money.
How much debt was hanging over Han Solo for all 3 films, right? Of like all 3 films, and it's, I mean, especially I'm thinking of the because I only knew the special editions. I think the only time I saw the non-special editions was my cousin had the VHS set, like before they came out, and I think I only saw that once. But like he has the whole conversation with Jabba in A New Hope, and then and then it's a big deal in Empire, and then obviously it follows through in Return of the Jedi, and so it's hanging over his head. And I think that that's a fun. Once again, if you don't want to play that way, you can obviously just have it be more hand waved. But I think it leads to really fun dramatic tension, especially given all the stuff that you can spend money on in this galaxy.
And it's a great motivator. It creates a lot of opportunities for pressure on adventures, for alternative pulls toward one cause or another, and great source of tension, possibly interparty conflict, the exciting kind.
The good kind.
Yes.
Yeah, the good kind.
The kind that wraps up by the end of the episode.
The dramatic conflict.
Yeah,
Not the meta.
Not personal
angry.
conflict.
Yep.
It's what my character would do. Shut up, Ross. It's not true.
On that note, I see you've got a handful of factions that are staged in the galaxy. How do you balance those? What do they do for play?
Yeah, so we wanted to. So this was actually one of our. We were gonna have factions across the board because we knew space opera factions are a huge part of it. So
And
we
war.
wanted to make sure that we basically had like every kind of archetype that we wanted, and we wanted to make sure, however, so we have our huge empire, we have our rebellion, we have our megacorp, we have our crime syndicate, right? And so all of these things that are really archetypical. But one of the things we really wanted to make sure that was enforced is that there's no evil empire and good rebellion, right? We wanted to make sure that there was the good, the bad, and the ugly for all of them, and that we had tools and opportunities for if you want to set your whole campaign about joining them, you can. If you want to set your whole campaign about fighting them, you can. And then a stretch goal unlocked was actually a full reputation system of rising through the ranks, earning reputation, and unlocking different rewards and boons and access and that sort of thing for all 12 of the factions. And so we really wanted to make sure that, once again, GMs and players, especially GMs, right, have the tools to build the adventure that they want, where if you want to take down the Cavalon Empire, you can. But if you want to join the Cavalon Empire and learn how to be knights, and that's kind of one of the things that we're doing in our Waltz for Eternity campaign, you can do it. And that people are evil, and the factions, there's no inherent good or bad. And there's good or bad elements. There might be players who hear about the pitch for all of them, and they say, these guys are the bad guys, these guys are the good guys. Great. Awesome. Go and run that adventure. But we wanted to make sure that there was opportunities for both. And we think that there's a lot of fun interplay of running from certain factions, or navigating different territories and kind of figuring out what part of space, what worlds and galactic control there is. If you want to play that sort of game, once again, leads to more fun, dramatic tension.
Yeah, and to again pull from archetypal examples, finding the humanity within this at first blush kind of sinister empire is emblematic of narratives like Gundam, narratives like Legend of the Galactic Heroes, and pretty essential to them. So there's a lot of potential depth there.
And I think that one of the spoilers for the campaign that we're playing, Waltz for Eternity, is where it's the primary conflict throughout the entire galaxy in the setting of the Cavalon Empire, which is very medieval fantasy, Arthurian legend inspired, against the Sorok dynasty, which is like they're the ancient aliens of like a lot of Saurians that and other species that have this really advanced harmonite gem tech that kind of is the harmony of the natural world and technology that's advanced that no one else can figure out. And that's the major conflict. And the campaign that we're doing, Waltz for Eternity, is basically showcasing we are playing mech pilots in the Empire, but it's about learning that, wait a minute, like first these are the big bad guys, but wait a minute, like there's humanity on either side and there's horrible stuff on either side. And so we as people are trying to grapple with that as our characters. And we only have 2 sessions left. So we'll see how that goes. We'll see what happens.
Exciting.
And would I be able to take a quick bio break as well?
Yes, absolutely.
Now that we're a little bit past halfway. Awesome.
We'll just fawn about how cool the game is while you're away.
You know what? You can do whatever you want. You can also shit talk if you want. I'm not going to be here. I won't know. It's up to you. So, okay.
I'll take you off the screen. That's fine.
Okay. I will be back.
So yeah, it's just us now, Vera. But
wow.
Yeah. What do you think so far?
I think I want to play this cool space Odyssey they've pitched us.
I mean, I was sold from the trailer, I'll be honest.
Oh yeah.
Everything Mikey's told us about it since has just made me like it more. I think I hit my fry with his money, please just take my money, probably about an hour ago. So
well, what sells me is the earnestness, the genuinity, the understanding of what makes things fun at the table and building that into the meta concept of what the setting does and what it's about. Like all of that really hits home for me. I think that there's a transcendental RPG experience that comes from having that inherent knowledge of what is going to activate people's brains built into the conceit of your game. And here it's in the book, here it's in the Kickstarter.
I think genuinity needs to be a word. Because I really like it. I'm sorry. You're so well spoken that sometimes I'm like, wait, what? What word comes out? I'm like, wait.
It's non-standard, but it's used. Okay, I know I had to use the Mid-Atlantic accent here. Okay,
Oh God.
genuineness, fine. Can I say y'all? Can I say y'all?
I say y'all a lot, but I was raised in Arkansas, so I get to, it's just a part of my nature.
You're Arkansasing me right now.
I am big time. And then, y'all is a very funny way to speak in its own right, because there's so many variations of it. There's y'all, there's all y'all, and my absolute favorite is the all you all will, which is all y'all in that particular patois, if you will,
or y'all.
It's all relative to y'all's. Anyway, I'm excited. Like I said, my roommate's already starting to plan a session around it. I'm really intrigued by the mech rules because I love giant stompy robots, and I would love to see a way to do that in D&D that doesn't just absolutely destroy the game.
Well, that and like effective space combat, like it's, I think, really intelligent to have a crunchier system for that, because it evokes mechanically the process of messing with a really complicated machine. Hey there, welcome back.
I'm back.
Mikey's back.
Can y'all hear me? We good?
Yes.
Awesome.
Loud and clear.
We even got a super chat while you were gone.
Ooh, okay.
Aeromob, getting the damn robot, Aeromob.
Thank you for the cheer.
This system is very sci-fi generic. I wouldn't say it's generic, but I mean, fair enough. What parts of this are you proud of that are 100% the system's own identity? Anything to show off?
I guess the question that I would ask, as far as like the system, as far as like the rule system, is Dungeons and Dragons 5th edition. So it's not its own tabletop role-playing system. But I think that what I'm really proud of is the nature of the galaxy and the kind of the way that the realms and the factions all kind of work together, and the power sources all work together in a way that I don't think I've seen in any other sci-fi setting, of this incorporation of fantasy, that there is heaven, that there is hell, that there are gods. That's almost like this Olympian vibe to it. And once again, maybe if there are, that I haven't seen them. And so I think that's the thing that people seem to be resonating with, is really kind of the way that the factions, the realms, the worlds, and all of the different concepts of our character classes and species all kind of come together in a way, in unexpected ways, I think is one of the reasons why folks are resonating so strongly.
Yeah, and that element of coming together is what really impresses me about it. Like, I invoked Akira Toriyama earlier, and this is some of the highest praise I can give, where you've brought together disparate concepts and made them work in a way that's cohesive and that's energized and that's fun. It makes a whole that works, that's exciting.
Yeah, I think that's one of the things I really enjoy about this setting, is that it's okay. So there are things that have tried to do something similar to this in the past. You can look at Esper Genesis, for example, as an early attempt at this, or Dragon Star, if you want to go back to early 2000s. But none of those has been as, I keep using this word, so I apologize if it's repetitive, but it's that none of them has been as ambitious as what is going on with Neon Odyssey. None of them has been as visionary, maybe another word for it, where they lock in that idea and then just explore every single aspect of it. So I find myself impressed by the sheer thoroughness that you have approached the subject with. And you're like, we're not just gonna have spaceship combat, we're gonna have really cool spaceship combat. We're not gonna just have D&D in space. We're gonna have like a whole new paradigm for what D&D in space could be. It's impressive, and it legitimately is exciting to see that the role-playing game industry doesn't just have to be D&D and Critical Role. It can have serious creative pushes from other directions and from other creators that are on that level. Go ahead.
Yeah, like you could run a lot of different kinds of sci-fi scenario in this system, but you also can run something that pulls from every wild imaginary and make it work as one experience. And that to me is impressive, creating a kind of, to borrow from the musical terminology of the game, a nice harmony that is hard to accomplish, I think.
Yep. Got another super
Yeah.
chat. Ricky Chapman, our very own tabletop gaming enthusiast, Ricky Chapman. He says, looking forward to Neon Odyssey. One of our buddies is frothing at the mouth, excited for Hypertech. He freaking loves that stuff.
Awesome. I'm very excited to for folks to kind of get a taste of what we have cooking up, especially in the playtest. We're going to be shooting for a pretty robust playtest for all backers, depending on what they pledged at this summer. So what I'm very excited about is folks being able to play games of Neon Odyssey a lot sooner than they think, hopefully with a lot more options than they might be expecting.
Oh, that brings up a question. Is there going to be, I presume this is the case, but I wanted to double check that we'll get PDFs before we'll get the books, most likely?
Yeah, our current, as far as like our official estimate, right, is that, everything is fulfilling. Our target estimate is November of next year. That said, Crooked Moon, what happened was we fulfilled the digital many months earlier than the physical. So if we do that, I would not be surprised, and I hope that happens, is what I will say.
Just for anybody who doesn't know, if you're doing Kickstarter projects for tabletop RPGs, you almost always have the PDFs ready way in advance. And part of the reason for that is because you have to get the physical proofs of the physically produced books, and you have to approve them, and you have to make sure that everything looks correct.
Yeah.
And there can be rounds of changes or discussions with the printer that go on whilst the PDFs, again, that are fully ready to go, are probably available on drive-thru or something like that.
Yeah.
While you're waiting. So there is a built-in waiting period for physical product. Just
and then once again, sorry if this is boring to folks, but you think about I had not at all considered how massive the logistics were when we first got into doing this. But the idea of okay, well, we have all these boxes, but everything needs to be kitted out at the same time. And so we need it. So when we're making it, we need to think of, we have miniatures, we have dice, we have plushes, all of that stuff. And then we need to figure out, how big does the box need to be? How is everything going to go in every single one of our boxes? And then we need to have the molds, and then we need to do that. And it actually takes, dice this long to cure, or the enamel this long to cure, and X, Y, and Z. And then it all affects this massive manufacturing pipeline for all of the additional stuff that we're offering that just goes beyond the books. And then you got to get it across the ocean. I mean, that's the thing. And so, the logistical side of it, and just what an enormous undertaking it's been from all of our various publishing partners and logistical partners and our own internal logistical folks. I'm very grateful. I'm only kind of arm's length, especially now. I was a lot more involved for Crooked Moon, especially in the beginning, especially on the miniature side. That was kind of my thing, was making sure the miniatures were good. From the production side, but I applaud them and salute them. That's what I will say.
I had a fail on production that I can tell you a little bit about. There was a role-playing game I was involved with called Death Watch back in 2009 or 10, I think, and we had a collector's edition we were making. We made a collector's edition for all of the big 40K games that we did, or at least for a little while. And the CEO kept telling me, make it big. We have the money. We can make this a big thing. Go, dream big, think of something big. And I'm like, okay, and I started out with something crazy. Like, everybody gets a Space Marine shoulder pad as part of their deal. And what we ended up with was like, okay, it's a metal box. Okay. And there's a key to unlock it, and the key's on a chain, and you can put the key around your neck and wear it like a necklace if you really want to. And that turned out to be an absolute nightmare.
Yep.
I don't recommend. Oh my God.
That is kind of why we are sticking to. I mean, we are sticking relatively to the basics. We have an Oracle deck. We have plushies, pins, miniatures, dice. Right. We've learned a lot on our dice side as well, from the process of the Crooked Moon. Karen Wang, who's the founder and CEO of Dispelled Dice, she's on our team leading our operations, and she's also heavily involved in the production of our dice this time around. So very excited for those. But one of the ideas when we were Blue Ocean, like, okay, what do we want to have in this? And all of us were throwing out all these fun, like, tchotchke electronics. And then we were like, we are not doing electronics. Could you imagine getting in electronics, getting it done, then putting it in a box on a crate onto a ship and getting it across the ocean? And how many, like, our poor customer, experience team already has so many emails they got to deal with. If we did electronics, it would be a nightmare. Another thing that we looked into was doing like a full poker set with a bunch of chips. And it had to be nice, but like, even with us being the most budget conscious while still being nice was so egregiously expensive for something like how many people that are like Neon Odyssey play poker, right? I like poker, but like, I feel like that's so niche. It's like, okay, we can't do that.
I can't tell you the number of box sets I've worked on where I've been the guy lobbying for, we need like bounty hunter, we need wanted posters. It's like, we need stuff for our guys to like be able to hand her out and say, this is the dude you're looking for, kind of thing. And it's never been in the budget, which is such a shame.
Yeah. Yep.
Oh my God.
It's, sometimes there's you dream big, and then there's the realities of manufacturing and logistics, and you just gotta. Oh, like one of the things that we were gonna do a spirit board for Crooked Moon, and there were some kind of spiritual concerns that we had as far as like folks. It was actually kind of some folks had an issue that there was a tarot deck in our boxes, but even without that, apparently getting anything into. Not only would be extremely heavy and make the shipping an absolute nightmare and the dimensions of the box an absolute nightmare, but getting anything into Australia with its wood because of weevils becomes an incredible. It's relatively easy to get things into Australia versus other parts of the world generally. But as soon as you add wood into it, because of weevils, it becomes a whole logistical nightmare. And so these little things that you have no idea, and like, unless you know it, you can't guess. And I'm just very glad that our final list of offerings didn't have anything that was overly burdensome that basically torpedoed the whole thing.
You chose the lesser weevil?
Exactly right. We chose the lesser weevil. Very well done.
All right, go ahead, Vera. I know you've got something. Go ahead.
No, I'm just admiring the build quality on some of these extras. Like, you have the all-in box, you're getting some pretty special stuff. You're talking about being over ambitious, but even here, like, it's really amazing. Like earlier, Ross mentioned there were some people online who were saying, "Oh, this is going to be the definitive way to play sci-fi D&D," and you really would have all that you need. I mean, we're talking like over 40 miniatures, unique die sets, plushies that can play in for familiars, when the inevitable 10 million hits, a full album. Like, what more could you want? Like, there's your entire play set.
Yeah, and I think that was, we wanted to make sure from both in the book and all the accessories, we wanted to make sure that if we never came back to this setting, that you would have what you need to play all of the robust space opera adventures for years and years and years to come. I'd love to come back. I love this setting. I want to come back, and we've invested a lot in the setting. Hopefully we do, but that's way down the line. And so we wanted to make sure that we accounted for that. If this was it, it would still feel very definitive and complete. And so I feel like we've achieved that.
You keep the poker set in the back of your pocket for the next Kickstarter.
Yeah, exactly.
Get Kane there as the king of spades.
Oh, hey, I love it.
Is there a subclass that you haven't talked about that you think is just absolute fire?
That I haven't talked about on today.
I mean, today or up to you.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be a special, unique, like only for you guys. I'm going to tell you about this thing. I mean, if it's something you talked about before, that's fine. But just if there's a particular subclass, you're like this right here, this is fire. What is it?
Can be more than one. I've been continually excited by everything you've talked about.
So many that I want to play. I think one of the subclasses that I'm really excited about. Okay, if I can pick one. I think so we have some very fun Grid Runner, which is our wizard, and the one called the Cybertronic is one that is just I think really awesome. And so that is one where you are almost like you're conjuring, where you are so at home in the hypergrid itself that you are almost becoming a program of the hypergrid, and you're able to conjure things from the hypergrid, including weapons and vehicles. And so you can basically conjure a digital bike around you that leaves a light trail, and you're able to conjure discs that you can throw, or like a digital blade in your hand that you can then use as a bonus action. I always really like the subclasses that kind of gives you something to do on each of your turns that's in addition to your class chassis. And so the idea of kind of like going on this bike and running and going around with your the light trail that you're leaving, or sending out these discs and then still casting spells, or actually getting into melee range and swinging in with these hard light weapons, I think is really, really fun and has a play style that I'm craving for a wizard analog.
It sounds rad as hell.
That's one of my favorites for sure.
Love it. Oh my god, that sounds amazing. Now, I had a question about one of the factions, the Blood Fleets. I'm getting a strong pirate vibe from these guys. Okay.
Oh yeah.
It's not just me.
But there's some nice people in the Blood Fleet.
Yep. And so we wanted to make sure that this was our our very loose allegiance of space pirates that have a code, right? They still follow a code, and they're not all bad, because we want to give you reason to join them. And I think my favorite thing about the Blood Fleet is where he kind of landed. We didn't want to go galleon in space. We didn't want to go full treasure planet. And we had to find the right balance of the right amount of Yarhar. That's kind of what we were saying. And so we literally had a big lineup of characters when we did VizDev. And we basically had to find where is the average level of Yarhar, that's the standard. And then it could go a bit more on either side. But we didn't want to go too Yarhar, and we didn't want to go too like the Metroid space pirates that are just like weird alien guys that don't look nautical piratey at all, right? And so that was kind of the thing. If we wanted them to feel scrappy and junker, like they kind of they've blown apart ships or commandeered them and damaged them heavily, and then scrapped them together or rebuilt them in certain ways, and built these really fun ramshackle ships that utilize like these solar ether sails that they shoot out, that aren't like a big mass of the galleons, but they shoot out in front of them that catch ether currents, and they carry them forward. And they like to make their ships look like giant sharks, because that's just really cool and fun, right? And so there's this fun and whimsy to them, as well as kind of the fearsomeness that I think is fun. And I think, once again, it's about striking. It was about the process of striking the balance about the right amount of Yarhar.
Love it. So I can do One Piece in space if I really want to.
Hey, if you want, absolutely. Why not?
Nice. Now, my roommate was talking about something weird, and maybe he was just had an extra gummy or something, but I want to make sure that it wasn't just a crazy guy talking about something awesome. He said there was a mascot or a familiar, or I'm not exactly sure, it might have been a species that is from Arcadia or linked to Arcadia in such a way that when you defeat enemies, they erupt into coins.
Yes, yeah, that's the bitling, like that I mentioned earlier.
That's the bitling. The bitling makes bad guys explode into coins.
Yeah, so when you defeat an enemy, they drop tokens, and you can collect the tokens. And when you're about to die, you can spill your rings or your tokens if you want, in order to not go down.
That is absolutely what I'm playing now.
We have a whole campaign, our Brutorama campaign. All of us are playing or rather, I'm the GM, but the entire party is playing Bitlings.
Oh, an all Bitling
is so
party.
Fun. It is an entire party of Bitlings, and it is so fun. And you can also choose your digital archetype of, are you got to go fast and you go super fast? Or are you one that can fly? Or are you the strong one that can punch and like break terrain and like break the blocks and, knock things back? We wanted to make sure that you could live the 90s animal video game mascot of your dreams. And I think that that ended up really hitting the fantasy in a really fun way. You can also set your checkpoint somewhere. You can set your checkpoint, and so when you go down, you can bamf back to your checkpoint if you want, as well. And so it very much kind of the reality defying physics. That's one of our reality defying species.
I love the pure joy that's just part of every class and subclass of species. Leica, the dog people, right?
Yes,
Can I play a basset hound if I wanted to?
absolutely. You can. We basically, once again, obviously, flavor is free, and flavor is free. But basically, as far as we're presenting, you can be any breed of dog that you want, or any combo, or whatever you want to do here. And then we have 3 lineages, but we wanted to make sure that, like, only if you can be basically a guard dog, you can be kind of a tracker sport dog, or you can kind of be like an emotional support, like, dog. And we wanted to make sure that we're not, that you can have a little Chihuahua that's small and is still a guard dog, right? Or you can still have the big, beefy, giant Mastiff and still be the very friendly support. And we wanted to make sure that you can basically choose what you want there and not be prescriptive. And that's been one of my favorite species as well.
Wow, one of our earliest episodes, we wound up talking about how to build a system in which you could play the Samurai Jack setting with the dog folk and so on. And I'm realizing that this is it. This is a a place to live out all of that.
Oh, yeah.
Like,
absolutely.
Foolish samurai.
And if you want to basically have it be in Samurai Jack where everybody's a robot so you don't get hit by the senses when you cut off their arm, everyone's a construct. Nearly every single person you meet, they're a construct. There you go. You just said it and suddenly you're in Samurai Jack.
Brilliant, because that's actually part of our episode on Holy Grails, which are amazing properties that should be RPGs but aren't.
Yep.
And Samurai Jack was one of the ones we talked about.
Yeah, what great world building. Great world.
Yeah, oh my god.
So cool.
The best. But I gotta say, I love the fact that Neon Odyssey can handle that. And I feel like that's gonna be a lot of the conversations around your game are probably going to be like, can I do X? Can I do Y? And it feels like so far the answer is almost always going to be yes.
The hope is that, we offer enough tools. Once again, that this is kind of the opposite philosophy of Crooked Moon, where it was a lot more prescriptive of here's what you are going to be doing. Here's the resonance you wanted. Here's your cutscenes if you want, and the dialogue to read. All of that's handed to you. This is like, we are hoping that as long as what you're trying to achieve is within the bounds of our, mission philosophy, that you can take the tools, and even if you need to do a little bit of retheming, you should be able to have the building blocks to build the campaign that you want. And once again, I think that'll be a great point of when we start playtesting, when we start getting into alpha and after playtesting, that we'll be able to get feedback and see kind of, is there enough? Hopefully there is. And I'm excited to see what fan resources that there are. One of my favorite things about Curse of Strahd, to me, it's one of my favorite 5e books, but the huge fan community that's built around it to flesh out the story and give resources and all of that is one of the coolest things as far as the D&D community. And I'm excited. And there's some of that in Crooked Moon, and I'm hoping that we see a lot of that in Neon Odyssey.
Well, it's such a paradigm shifter. Like, famously, or perhaps infamously, a D&D 5e is the system people use if they want to build out any kind of concept that they don't have the system on hand for. It's got rules that are easy to adapt, and you've given people a starting place from which they can jump right into, I think, a lot of what people want out of 5e, and adapting that is inevitable. People are going to do all sorts of crazy things.
Yeah, we want people to play with it, try to break it, fix it, make it their own, right? And what I'll say is that a lot of, you hear online is that D&D is not meant for sci-fi. Play something else. And very valid. And absolutely, if you want to play sci-fi and not play D&D and don't think you can do it, absolutely go ahead and play that. Play whatever game you want, but we here at Avantris, we love playing D&D. We love the D&D system. We love the chassis of Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition. 5.5 is what we've been playing ever since 5.5 came out, and we've been playing 5e for 10 years, over 10 years now. And, and we know that a lot of our fans and a lot of our audience also loves playing D&D. So we just basically want to say, hey, if you don't want to have to find a whole new system, here's Neon Odyssey. And, hopefully you find what you want to create the space opera with your friends.
Well, let me pitch you a character. Let me see let's see
Go
if I can do based on my limited knowledge of Neon Odyssey, because again, I haven't read the book. I've only seen the videos and this episode, and what my roommates told me. So those are my sources. And here's what I'm thinking. I'm thinking leaning into the idea of nostalgia as part of the overall DNA of Neon Odyssey. I would like to play a Bitling who is like an embodiment of a massively popular property from centuries ago. Okay.
Yeah.
And he is emerged from Arcadia with the goal of sort of reigniting that childlike joy that his property, whatever that was, game or movie, had once engendered. And to do this, he's going to have to go around the galaxy and find like totemic places that are either associated with the story of the property or places where they buried all the old cartridges.
Oh yeah,
like the
like E.T.
The ancient burial dump.
A little bit of that. So it's like half Sonic and half E.T. and just and really like lean into that as the personal story of this character. Is he's like, I want to reawaken the feeling that people had when they used to engage with the show and game I was a part of.
I love that. And I think there's a great subclass that would work with that. Our Oracle, which is our version of the cleric. One of the subclasses is rather than them being connected to gods, they are directly communing with the cosmic forces of the galaxy. And one of the subclasses is called the Dreamer, connects with the forces of Arcadia, usually through dreams and otherwise, and they have a figment. And their figment is basically like this little evocative, it could be a little critter, it could be something else, a representation of imagination that they then can kind of spread around and help their allies and themselves. And so that could be a good way to do it. And I love the idea for the finale of that campaign and character arc is that you take on the megacorp that bought the rights and has been sitting on the franchise for those centuries.
We're going back
to
Smiling
They don't want to give it to anybody else.
Yeah.
They don't want to make a new game for it because that style of game is dead and no one cares anymore and they don't want to put in the resources. And you take out that megacorp. Yeah. I love that. I love that arc.
That's so cool.
Sprinkle in a little stop killing games on top of that. Yeah, that'd be really
exactly right. Exactly right.
Yeah.
Which I think is passing right now, right?
It seems to be.
Yeah.
I hear
Vera,
it's going well.
I want to make sure you get an opportunity, Vera. Do you have a pitch?
Oh, I'm going to fire right back. So
here we go.
I myself am a huge edgelord. I'm fascinated by the Void Dominion. I'm curious.
Oh, yeah.
I'm curious about these nefarious creatures. You've mentioned our oppositional forces in the galaxy, these ominous beasts. I want to know like how edgy I can be in this setting. Like, what can I do to bring in our Skeletor? Like, how can I be our friendly Skeletor figure for the team up episode?
You can be extremely edgy in this. We have the species called the Nilari. They are a draconic elf-like species that was changed by the void and the void worms, these void touched, void corrupted dragons that they took their biology and fused with their own. So they have scales and horns and draconic ears and tendrils. And they just look like these cool dragon elf people. It doesn't get edgier than that, but we have plenty of and they have a void breath, of course. And I think they can kind of slip into the void as well and kind of blink out or slip into the worm waves, which is like the in between, a liminal dimension, which is pretty edgy and delightful. And we have some spooky. We have two subclasses that are connected to Cacophony, which is our version of hell. We have, if you want to go undead, we have the Shadow Tongue, which is a cryptist, which is our version of the Warlock. And rather than having patrons, cryptists are basically unlocking hidden truths or secrets of the galaxy. And the Shadow Tongue uses their voice in order to manipulate, like basically the souls or the harmony within each people, to manipulate and control them. A little bit of Bene Gesserit, the voice, but then they can get powerful enough where they can sever their connection to the harmony and create an undead thrall and a minion that they may not even, you can flavor where they may not even know that they're undead yet. And you can have them do their Manchurian Candidate activation term and do some cool stuff that way. So, and we've got three void subclasses and
Brilliant.
Stuff that you can also flavor as spooky as well. So I think the world is your oyster.
I could be a bit of a discordant fiend myself.
Oh, exactly right. Oh, absolutely. Yeah, we have got four discordant species.
Ooh, yeah. Okay.
So for every tone of cacophony, every tone of discord. So if you want to be the killer clown,
Oh, this is playable.
killer clown's playable, energy vampire, unstoppable, terminating robot, and then acid spitting, devouring bug person. And you at level 5, you get a bunch of features, and then level 5 you have to make a choice. You start as humanoid, and then that represents kind of your fall to cacophony, your corruption. And then at level 5 you make a choice, and you have 2 abilities you can pick. One that is more cooperative and helps the team, and the other that's a lot more selfish. And then if you take the more selfish one, you become a fiend type. Your type changes to fiend. Otherwise, you stay a humanoid. And the energy vampires get wings that can fly if they become a fiend. So I think that's.
You're simultaneously getting me excited about like HR Geiger art and KOTOR. So we're like a really good place right now.
Heck
This is solid. This is solid.
I'm feeling the KOTOR. Yeah, absolutely. Now, what about droids? Can you play like a robot?
Absolutely. One of our species is called the Anatron, and they are a machine race. They're a robot race. And one of the things that we wanted to address was that there's kind of like this uncomfortable reality about droids in Star Wars and other settings. Are they people? Are they tools? Are we sad when they die? Or is it funny? Is it whatever? And so we wanted to say there are robots that are not people, but then Anatrons have a hyperspark soul. They have a soul. They are people. It is not a question. They just are a built robot person that is a soul, that has a soul. And we also have a software version of the isotrons that are basically living programs made out of hard light, with bodies of hard light. So you can basically play a digital program they're both construct species. And then we have our Tikal, which are the crystal tech golem people, that all of them have these souls. They are constructs, but they are real people that there's no question about their humanity, quote unquote.
The soul is the hyperspark, you say. I see where you are coming from, sir.
Yep. Yep. Good stuff.
I'm continually getting excited because I hadn't even thought that like some of these paradigms would be possible. It hadn't even occurred to me that there could be like this range of expression possible in the system. And then like as soon as you say this, I'm just getting excited about it. Like, oh yeah, you could do this and this and this. Wow.
And that's kind of the thing of my favorite thing after announcing and then showing the sneak peeks and revealing all the races and subclasses has been seeing the amount of character concepts that people have been putting in the Discord, the Neon Odyssey Discord, and even character art. They're designing characters and then they're doing art. I think in the first week of Neon Odyssey being announced, we got more art of OCs and characters than we have for the 3 years that Crooked Moon has been announced. And that feels really cool. And like, I feel personally that I now have more character concepts than there are years in my life to play, unfortunately. And it's a wonderful problem to have, but that's been a really cool thing of where like every day I feel like I come up with a new character concept and I'm probably will never have a chance to play, but it's been really cool having people's imaginations go wild.
It's such a beautiful thing though, because the setting offers you a chance to make characters that are fun, and then they get to be happy, and people like this. Like,
yep.
Something else that really excites me about your project is a lot of the big successes we've seen in Kickstarter over the last few years. Most of these have been, big licenses, big IPs. Avatar: Last Airbender being a good example of this.
Yeah.
And I have spent the majority of my career working on other people's IPs, and that is a lot of fun. And there's a lot of value you can get in creatively reinterpreting some things that are part of a playground. But it feels really exciting to me to see what you guys have done with Neon Odyssey, because it feels like you've done this, first of all, in a free, creative way where you're not hemmed in by an existing property. And secondly, it feels very collaborative. This doesn't feel like it's one guy's vision and everybody else is like working towards that. It feels like you have built together a team of people who all get to have a creative say, and that kind of gets woven together into the whole.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, and I mean, I think that's been, building this setting and building this IP, right? Like, I think has been you know, we wouldn't be able to do it if we just had the inspirations and influences that just one person grew up on or inspired by. And so we're able, when we have these problems that we need to solve, someone else is going to be able to jump in and say, hey, like, how about this? Oh, we can't really think of a name for this class skin. Oh, they'll be able to jump in and solve that problem. And the diversity of voices and the creativity, the world building and the galaxy and the setting that we've built has been extremely collaborative. And it's been really awesome a really awesome and fulfilling creative process for me, because I feel like it's been, and I think that speaks to the level that people seem to be resonating with the IP. And I say IP, but like the setting in the world or the galaxy,
The
right?
vibe.
The vibe, yeah, the vibe and the world that we built and the IP. And I think that I think it goes to show just the caliber of the folks that we brought on and just the creative process. And I think that the creative process has been so much fun. And I think the fun comes through with the final product. And like, you know, Wild Blue, our studio, it made me so happy to hear that like the artists on their side are like fighting to be able to work on the Odyssey, or like they have to go spin off on like a video game client, like a huge company that you all know. They have to go work on this thing and they get to go back. Oh, I'm done with that. Now, hooray, I get to go back to Neon Odyssey. That makes me so happy. Like, you know, that makes me so happy. And hearing the people that say they have so much fun writing on it or doing the art, or even our marketing partners and our advertising partners of like saying it was been so much fun being able to work with this world and this galaxy. That I think is one of the most fulfilling things for me. And I think hopefully the fun comes through on the page, in the promos, in how we play it, in everything that we do. That.
I never doubted you had fun making this. It's just, it oozes it.
Vera, do you want to read this super chat?
Ooh.
Yeah, Ricky Chapman, thank you so much for the chat. Ricky asks, Mikey, what would you do if you were isekai'd into the Neon Odyssey setting? If you have this new class, this new origin, the 25th background of being isekai'd.
Yeah, Mikey, you're crossing the road and a truck comes around the corner.
Yep. There's a piece of toast in my mouth.
Yeah.
I'm late for school. I'm 37 years old.
And you get
I have a Hello Kitty backpack still. And there's a toast in my mouth, and I get absolutely flattened by this delivery truck. And I'm in, you know, I don't know if this is like boring, but it's the first thing that came into my mind, is that I would try to open a franchise of overly maximalist themed entertainment restaurants, maybe theme parks, something like that, of where like your rainforest cafes, your cheesy Planet Hollywoods, your Margaritaville, that to me of like the nostalgia of like something that's completely dead outside of like Orlando, you know, Bubba
Gump.
I've ranted about the importance of Rainforest Cafe on stream, and I think like in a world where that's possible, I think I would like to see what sort of fun themed entertainment I could help bring into the world. And maybe that's not exciting. I'm not killing monsters, but maybe if it's just me, Mikey, I would get annihilated by a CR 1/4. So I'm not risking that.
Yeah, I was gonna say this is not the first time during this little stream that you've mentioned the Rainforest Cafe, and my heart is growing 3 sizes as you talk about the importance of it. Let me tell you.
Or I would I would find a way to basically get enough money where I can just go to one of our tropical worlds and just hang out on the beach, open up a tiki bar, you know, whatever that would be, and just relax.
You're like the Jimmy Buffett of Neon
exactly.
Odyssey.
Yeah, I mean, this is my aesthetic, ideally year round.
Nice.
So that is one of our species called the flambago, is a avian species that's inspired by flamingos and other tropical birds. And like they have a connection to the celebrant, one of our gods, that makes them like chill and have fun as part of their like biology and magical essence. That would be, I think, what I am at heart. I think, and that's what I would want to do.
That's brilliant. I love that. Great question, Ricky Chapman. Thanks for bringing
Great question.
No, and then that becomes like the Adventurers Guild equivalent.
Yeah,
it's fun.
Yeah,
right.
There is something that immediately came to my mind, which is something I really enjoy in a lot of Western fantasy anime. That is the idea of the Adventurers Guild, and that it ranks people and it offers quests, and it's just really cool. It's frankly amazing that we don't have more of that in our RPGs.
Yeah,
go
ahead. Sorry.
No, please.
Oh, and we wanted to have that in the Galactic Bounty Guild, right? Of the super space Western vibe of where bounty hunters just kind of it's a faction that doesn't even count as one of our 12. It exists beyond. You can go in between factions, and they are so neutral that basically bounty hunters can go and find their perp. And it's effectively acting like a sci-fi adventurers guild, and very inspired by the space Western vibe. And the viz dev that Wild Blue has done is amazing, of where their aesthetic and the bounty boards are inspired by old cigarette machines. And so it has this kind of like warm, like oranges and yellows, and we actually have like our pin here, our lenticular pin for the core box, or in all three boxes, is inspired by this bounty board vibe. And so obviously the Adventurers Guild in our sci-fi setting is an important thing. And it's surprising that it's not as prevalent in the West.
All I was going to say past that was that's the source book I would like to write, is the how to use the Bounty Hunters Guild like an Adventurers Guild, and how to, how that could be a big play a certain role in your campaign.
The idea of a rainforest cafe, barcade, sports bar, bounty board, screen-filled franchise is so viscerally exciting to me. I think you'd do fine if you were isekai. I'll put it like that.
I'm telling you. I think it just would be so fun. And once again, we have all of this stuff that we've had the art for, but if you want to take it, I'm theming, we're theming it to like the Jimmy Buffett experience, or the the Bimmy Juffett experience, and like that's the everyone needs to, the uniform is Hawaiian shirts and flip-flops. Go for it. You have the tools, you have the power.
Well, you talk about the importance of soundtracks. Every time shit's about to get real, there's like an update. Margaritaville starts playing.
Yep.
Here's your tone setter.
Mikey, you just showed off that really cool pin. Is there anything else you can show us that is really cool from the Kickstarter? Or is there anything you could tell us that hasn't been talked about before? I mean, I'm not saying you have to, but I'm just curious.
So here is, the bounty pin, the lenticular pin, is in all three value boxes, core, deluxe, and all in. You can kind of see it's bang, and then this is their logo here.
Nice.
I don't even know where this is. And then this is in the deluxe box and the all-in box. This is the spinning galaxy pin. And so it's got the main character from our music video, Pike, is Ship the Sparrow, and then the galaxies can spin here.
Pike, which is obviously him and his ship obviously look a lot like Spike from County.
We were very inspired by
clearly
by that, and we bring in the. Sorry. Exactly, Cowboy Bebop. Yeah. I mean, it's one of our, we say it's Star Wars. My elevator pitch, like if I just show off the street, you meet me in an elevator, it's Cowboy Bebop meets Star Wars with a synthwave coat of paint, and that's Neon Odyssey, like at the baseline. And so I have those on hand, and we have, and once again, these are blank prototypes, right? But here's the Overdrive expansion. It's not going to be nearly this thick.
Oh my God!
Wow. Nice.
It's not going to be this thick. It cannot be this thick.
Sweet Jesus.
This is way thicker than it'll actually end up being. It'll still be a beefy book, but we're working on one of the things that you don't really realize is like how color works in digital RGB versus CMYK in printing, and some of the most notoriously difficult to print are the bright neon colors and all of that. And so getting these vibrant colors. And so we're already in the process of sampling and seeing how we can get the colors to pop the most that we can. And our wonderful art and graphic design team are already hard at work on that. So we are already in the process of sampling and we are hard at work. And like I said, we've been working on this campaign on and off for over 2 years now, since February of 2024. This project, and so we have a lot written, we have a lot prototyped, and we hopefully will be able to get this into your hands as soon as possible.
Awesome. I know I, for one, am really looking forward to it. And I would think, you don't have to say anything at all, just to be really clear, but I would imagine that it is not going to be long before somebody comes knocking on your door wanting to make either an animated series or a video game. Just saying.
What I will say is that some of the emails we've gotten over the past 2 weeks have been very interesting.
I bet.
And what I will, that's all I will say about that. But I will say is that I think that multimedia is something we would love to do. We love animation as a medium. Hopefully the animated music video shows that and proves that
big time
that we love and we love video games. And I think that, you think about, and this is once again talking a little bit of shop, so apologies for that, but you think about the scale of potential audience compared to TTRPG to video games compared to TTRPGs, it's orders of magnitude. Like it's like, board games, like TTRPGs are here, board games are here, video games are across the room, right?
Mm-hmm.
But what I'll say is that, like there's only so many hours and so much time and so much money. And, our bread and butter is making TTRPGs. And what I'll say is never say never. And it's something that, would be really cool, but we want to make sure our main priority now is making sure that these books and these products and Neon Odyssey is as good as it possibly can be and is delivered as timely as it can be, and that people love it. And so that's our main priority. But once again, who's to say, in the next 3-5 years beyond, would be pretty cool. Be pretty cool.
Super commendable to prioritize the deliverables for everyone that supported the project. But art is big, and I know you believe in the power and value of human creativity.
Absolutely.
So a lot of potential.
Yeah, it's everything you guys have talked about is extremely admirable. As someone who has grown up through Kickstarter from the days of Far West and all of the scams that have been made as Kickstarters.
Yeah.
It's just super nice to be like, oh yes, we're just going to focus on making the book and getting it into your hands. Thank you very much.
Absolutely.
I will just say that right here, right now.
And that is hard, right? Because I think that, there are real scams. Like, I won't name it, but there was like a Kickstarter that launched a year after Crooked Moon did that I just saw that a lot of people supported. And to me, I'm like, this is so obviously a scam. And they're going to take the money and run. And I'm like, I can't believe that this is a thing. And then it's still they think they took the money and run. And it's such a shame because it withers and erodes trust in crowdfunding platforms. And, what I'll say is that I think that, I on the other side of it, right, is that, I think every single major 5e Kickstarter project has been at a minimum a year and a half late. I don't think there's been a single one that hasn't been delivered sooner than a year and a half late. And I think that a lot of people have been conditioned of, hey, I can go on Amazon, hit order and get it to me today or tomorrow. Why is this taking a long time? And so, but there are very real production issues and complication logistics in the tabletop industry, especially on making a book and the editing, and there's so much that goes into it: the art, the writing, the editing, the playtesting, the development, the layout, the art, the tweaking. Then there's all the pre-press that needs to be done, and that's just the books, not including all of the other tools, all the other items, including the mold, the sampling, getting all the molds made, and getting everything done, and then kitted out into various boxes, and then shipped across the world, and all of that. That a lot of folks, especially folks that haven't done this sort of thing before, don't understand how complicated and difficult and how long this sort of thing takes. And so I appreciate the grace on that side, but then you have these campaigns that either are legitimate scams or are so misplanned that they basically kind of disappear into the middle of the night, that it arose, that it creates a tough, environment for a lot of creators, I think. And hopefully, as I don't know actually the success rate as Kickstarter or BackerKit or GameFound or whatever crowdfunding platforms there are, if there's been a higher success rate as time has gone on, or it's been worse. I actually be very curious to see if anyone has any data on that, if how trust has been on crowdfunding. But that's just more of a curiosity that I have. I'm just yapping and flapping my gums.
Well, I mean, without crowdfunding, we wouldn't have a whole lot of really great products. It's unfortunately just it's a bug and a feature, if you will, of the role-playing game industry, is that it is the margins are so tight. It's easy to make something. It's hard to make something that's really good, that fully realizes your vision. And Kickstarter is one of the few ways where you can potentially fully realize that vision.
Exactly.
Thanks to the power of crowdfunding.
Yeah. And I think it's one of those things of where when it's the point of Kickstarter is to kickstart, right, someone's dream or someone's vision, and you're supporting that. And what I'll say is without Kickstarter, without crowdfunding, we wouldn't be here, right? Like if we had not been able to kickstart the Crooked Moon, I don't think Adventures would have continued, very frankly. I don't think there would have been any reality where us as telling stories online and creating, if it had not been for that, I don't think we would still be around at this point. And so I'm just so grateful for all the support from the Crooked Moon that allowed us to build this thing, and then Neon Odyssey that will allow us to continue to make games and hopefully do a lot more cool stuff for years to come. So I'm just so grateful for everyone who has supported us. And once again, we wouldn't be here if it wasn't for that kind of elimination of gatekeeping, right? Of where like we could just go and say, hey, here's our vision, here's our dream. What do you think? And hopefully the people who supported us didn't regret it.
Speaking of which, Sotek would get on my case if I didn't mention at least once in the episode. If you have enjoyed us getting into cool role-playing lore on this channel, please do us a favor, hit the like and subscribe button. So
subscribe, leave a comment when this goes into the VOD.
Whoa, for the algo?
Whoa.
Yeah, for the algo, leave a comment.
Share. Now, there's a pressing question from fans that have wanted to know some things about your game. And I'm sure one of them is whether or not there will be digital tools or possibly a D&D Beyond link for Neon Odyssey.
We have digital tools. In the campaign, we have we have all of our maps in digital form and digital map pack. We have all of our tokens in a digital form in a digital token pack, which has increased in value because as we unlock digital tokens, we just threw them in there, didn't change the price. So if we have more tokens in a stretch goal, they would just go in there again. Not saying we do, but if we did, they would go in that digital token pack at no increased cost. And digital reference cards, as well as full integrations on Roll20, Foundry VTT, and Alchemy Enhanced. We have there is no current slated plan for D&D Beyond. We would love to be on D&D Beyond. I think that would be great. But currently, obviously now that D&D Beyond has expanded to tons of wonderful creators, and there's only so much bandwidth that there is, we would be very grateful to be able to get the bandwidth of the D&D Beyond team to get these massive books on the D&D Beyond. So our fingers are crossed. We're very hopeful, and as soon as we know, we will let everybody know. But if we do get onto D&D Beyond, it will be separate from the Kickstarter. So that's the full answer.
Vera, do you have another burning question you'd like to ask?
Not a burning question. I'm moved by the possibilities opened by the Kickstarting platform, by online creation, by the resonance that your project has had with so many people. I think it speaks to that like burning creative urge that tabletop games can activate in people, because it's a chance for people to express themselves and what they're about. And creating games and sharing campaigns in those moments encourages people to try and do it themselves, and giving them the tools they need to do that. It's a beautiful thing. It's something that I'm passionate about. And it's wonderful to see a success story in this space. It's wonderful to see something built around creating hope and positive energy and giving people an amazing new paradigm for their play space. It really warms my heart. It's wonderful. Seriously, it's a great project.
Thank you. And I think that's one of the reasons why, at least I'll speak for myself, why I do this, is where I think that tabletop role-playing games is the greatest hobby in the world.
Yes.
In my opinion. Right? I'll speak for myself.
I think
it's the greatest hobby in the world. And I think one of my favorite things that I do when it comes to streaming, animated shorts, this sort of thing, is introducing, and I get so heartwarmed when I see thousands of comments of saying, this is my first TTRPG, I've never played D&D, I've never played TTRPG, this is my first time playing, this is my first time I'm getting into this. And if I can help spread the word and introduce the greatest hobby on the planet to more people so that they can have incredible experiences at the table with their friends, then I've done a good thing. And I've seen comments from people that are like, hey, I got into D&D through the Crooked Moon. I didn't like the Crooked Moon, but then I found this other third-party publisher. I love their stuff, and I'm going to buy their stuff. I'm not going to buy Advantage. Awesome. Great. Like, to me, that's the coolest thing in the world, because you're still playing games. We may not have been releasing the right stuff for you, but you found someone that has, and then you're gonna support other creators, and you're still going to be playing the game. Or D&D, I didn't really care for, but I got into this other system. I got into Powered by the Apocalypse. I got into Pathfinder. I got into whatever. I got into Daggerheart. Great. That is awesome. Like, perfect. If I have helped you find enjoyment in this hobby and you've been able to go on a journey that find that what didn't work for you, and then helps you find what does tell better stories, then that is all I could ask for. And that's just the greatest feeling, because I think it's a shame. We just talked about audiences. I love board games, but to me, it's a tragedy that the audience for board games is so much bigger than TTRPGs, right? Like, I feel like more people, if they gave it an earnest shot, would fall in love with this hobby and would find how transformational spiritually, maybe it's a little melodramatic, but at least for me, how transformational spiritually it can be, and how much it can forge such powerful friendships. Where I wouldn't be nearly as good friends with the people that I play D&D with the people of Antris, if we didn't play TTRPGs together. Not even close. And I think that it's because we play TTRPGs why our friendships are as strong as they are. And if I can play any part in helping bring people into this hobby, then I've done a great fucking thing, and I'm happy. So that's my that's one of the things that makes me really happy about this whole process.
Well, what you just said there, I think, has earned you a spot on our show anytime you want to come by.
Oh, well,
that's
thank
a
you.
Beautiful thing. That just that warms my heart. Seriously.
Yeah, for sure.
It's been a great chat.
I do one more burning question. So if I am a GM and I'm running a game of Neon Odyssey, and my players are on board a ship and we're taking off and we're also engaged in a space battle, but one of my players is like, I jump out on the wing to deal with one of the enemy boarders, and now I'm fighting him on the wing of the ship. How do you transition between those two things?
Yeah, so actually the very first time we showcased combat, we did split combat of where we had a transport ship, a personal star, like basically, Millennium Falcon scale, right? Where there's multiple stations, or Serenity or some, similar to that. There was a personal starfighter like an X-Wing or an R-Wing from Star Fox or something. And then there were boarders, and then we were fighting on foot. And so basically we're still kind of hammering out exactly what that's going to look like. But we want to basically make sure, and you can watch it, I think it is Stardust Rhapsody Anthem episode, maybe it's episode 7. But we want to make sure that if you want to have borders and fight and split out that scale, you have the tools to do it. And so it's a matter of like, well, you can just roll for initiative. And rather than I'm going to activate my station of piloting, I'm going to go run down the hallway. I see a space pirate. I'm going to bonk him with my club and Cosmic Smite / Divine Smite. Right. And so that is something we want to make sure is and basically how we transition back and forth is going to be a big part of playtesting, of to say what feels smooth. Do you do it all in initiative order, or do you do Starship? You do all Starship scale stuff and then all on foot stuff, and then it's initiative within that. And so that's something that we're playing with internally, and we'll also be playtesting as well. So that's something.
I'm glad you're thinking about it. That's awesome.
Yeah. And so we're absolutely thinking about it. And that said, we also want to make sure that we don't have this moral hazard of, I'm going to get out and ignore this cool ship that I have and try to cast Fireball or Finger of Death on the ship.
Right.
Like, that's not something we're trying to If you're in a ship fighting another ship, you want to use your ship, right? If there's a person that is a border or something else where you're trying to fight, then you can get on foot and do that. We want to make sure the scales stay. Once again, there are going to be magic items or particular edge cases where that'll be warped or broken, but we want to make sure standard that the scale stays with the scale.
But you want that harmony where you're doing this awesome dogfight, and at the same time you have perhaps in the hull some kind of combat happening and just those cinematic moments.
Yeah.
Well, famously, some older role-playing games, specifically Space 1889 comes to mind, where the whole system disintegrated if you tried to have like I think the joke was that I can have a fight on my ship, but as soon as somebody on the ship got on top of a horse, everything this universe self-destructed, because the way the rules just couldn't handle mounted combat on a ship while the ship was doing
I see.
Yeah, there's famously several role-playing games that have gone down in flames over ship and personal combat.
Well, I'll keep an eye out for horses and see in play testing. Maybe we'll get some horses going and see so hopefully we'll do some stress testing there.
Yeah.
And so hopefully we have a lot of people who join our play test this summer. And obviously we'll have future play tests as well.
Where if people want to play test, where do they go?
They can go to neonrpg.com, which will bring them to our Kickstarter page. You can either scroll down, or I believe on the left side there should be a navigator to go to the playtest materials. Playtest materials should be right before the tiers, and you just click on there, and there is a Google Drive, and you should be able to download all the playtest materials, including our pre-gen characters. It has all of our Starship combat rules. It has a couple subclasses, the full Tracer, which is our Ranger, and it has like 7 species. So, full species that you can play and enjoy.
Awesome. That's good news. That's good to hear. I think we're at the last 20 minutes of our show here, so it's probably a good time to start talking about our final thoughts on Neon Odyssey. Mikey, you're the guest. You're welcome to go first, or you can have us go first, however you'd like to do it.
Why don't you guys go first so I can kind of see? I'm the newbie here, so I'll be polite and go last.
Fair enough.
Vera,
so why don't you start?
Because I have ADD, I spend a lot of time on YouTube Shorts. I was familiar with Legends of Avantris through a lot of your awesome animated shorts.
Thank you.
I've heard y'all clowning around a little. Yeah. Big fan. I have really enjoyed learning more about Neon Odyssey. I've fallen in love. I am really impressed. I respect the project, what you're trying to do, the ethos behind it, the tone you're setting, the process you're going through. It's a great thing, and I wish you the very best of luck with 10 mil and beyond.
Thank you so much. Really appreciate it, and I'm thanks for watching the shorts. It all helps the algorithm.
My final thoughts are probably going to be a bit longer. I've been a role player since 1983. It's been a long time, and I've seen a lot of attempts at fantasy sci-fi. I've seen, Dragonstar and Spelljammer and Asper Genesis and many others. Many others. And I've got to say, none of them has sparked my interest nearly as much as Neon Odyssey. There's been attempts to hit that 80s retro vibe, especially with Neon, and especially with the feel of things like Outrun and new retrowave. There's a setting for Savage Worlds called Street Wolves. That's not too dissimilar in terms of that, trying to get that vibe, but it's more Miami Vice. Anyway, however, again, I have yet to see anybody nail it quite as strongly as Neon Odyssey has. So to me, this feels like a case of your group, the creators of this game, basically took a laser pointer and hit the bullseye on, I think, the intersection of so many awesome things: video games, nostalgia, new retro wave, music, animation, and the visuals. They all work together in such a beautiful way. it honestly reminds me a little bit of a lot of projects that really shouldn't work but do. Ask me about my opinion on the Guardians of the Galaxy first movie, for example. That shouldn't have worked, but it did. And I feel like you're in that position where you've got the bottle and the lightning is in the bottle and you're screwing the cap on.
Yeah, that feels like an apt comparison in a couple of ways, actually. Hold on, wait. You're on to something.
I mean, I like to draw. I have a free associating mind, so it likes to draw parallels between a lot of weird things that sometimes people may know or may not know, like the Micronauts comic thing I said earlier. As soon as it left my mouth, I'm like, probably nobody under the age of 50 even knows what that is. So, but
I have learned through you.
So yeah, I think I'm going to echo Vera and say it looks fascinating. It looks like almost exactly the kind of thing that I would really, really enjoy. And I'm super thrilled to see it come out. And like I said, my roommate's already planning to run a game of it. So, I'm going to get to do that. And I'm looking forward to it.
Thank you so much. That is, I mean, honestly, I really appreciate it. And, the whole team, I mean, we have been trying to hit that bullseye right between all of the different things. And that's been something that's been a huge, huge priority for us, is kind of, once like I keep saying, finding the balance and basically drawing all the inspirations and making sure that we're weaving them all together in a way that feels cohesive, has been a huge challenge, but it's been a fun one. And so I just want to say thank you, and I appreciate it. I guess, is it my turn to go?
If you'd like, yeah.
First, I want to say thank you for having me on. It's kind of surreal that I've been a fan of Lorebeards for a long time, and so the fact that I get to chat with you all for 3 hours has been really, really, really awesome. And folks at home, thank you for joining. If you do want to support the campaign, neonrpg.com. We're running for a few more weeks here until June 3rd. And we've got some cool stuff, is what I will say. We've got some cool stuff. So I think you're going to want to back at a physical, any kind of physical item is what I will say. And I just want to say thanks for going on this Neon Odyssey with us. And join the Discord. I'm in there all the time. If you still have questions, the community is a great place to ask. You can join the Discord also on the Kickstarter page. Click on join the community on the sidebar, scroll all the way almost down to the bottom. And I'm in there as well. And so if you see me chatting, say hi. And I just want to, once again, thank you both for the amazing conversation.
Yeah, well, it's been entertaining. And like I said, I love seeing behind the scenes stuff. Is there somebody on your team who is like the one who talks the most about a particular aspect, whether that be tone or mechanics, or, I mean, obviously you have your lead designer and you have your art director, but I mean, is there a person who's kind of like the soul or the glue of Neon Odyssey, and who would that be?
I think that everybody contributes in a ton of different ways, and I think everyone on the team has helped build this world together. I think a lot of times, I think about the late night conversations when it comes to me, Richie, and then Dan. We're kind of always asking about, does this sell the theme? Does this hit? Does this sell the vibe? Does this sell the archetype? Does this sell the player fantasy? And I think the conversations that the three of us have had for sometimes until 5 or 6 in the morning about subclasses or species or about things, I think has really led to a lot of where we've landed. But that said, it's not just the three of us. It's really everyone on the team contributing in ways, bringing in their loves of things. Like I think about Alex Chen, our lead artist, taking his love of mecha and just like making our mech miniatures and our ship miniatures so awesome, and bringing in that historical knowledge. And Yelka and Bree, our graphic designers, bringing in their sensibilities to achieve, once again, an aesthetic that feels retro and nostalgic, but doesn't feel tacky, in my opinion, and doesn't feel dated. And I think that alone is an incredible feat. So, and once again, everyone inhabiting this world, when it comes to Derek and Andy and Mason, Nikki and Kelsey, and playing these stories and living these characters and inhabiting it, is just, everyone's bringing their entire souls into this project. And that to me is what I'm really grateful for. And I think that hopefully it shows that we poured our souls into every aspect of this. And we just hope you all enjoy it.
Now, something that you just said there is like the importance of the visual aspects, the play. That's graphic design, it's layout. It's also art. But I would argue, like specifically for this project, a lot of it has to do with color.
Yeah.
Your game is a very colorful game. It's a very bright game, and that visually communicates a tone that is often difficult to capture in writing. And
Yeah.
I think that's regardless of the printing challenges that it has given you with the RGB versus CMYK. Regardless of that, though, I think that this game is going to live not just as a really cool setting with all these really cool classes and all these great mechanics, but also something very visually stimulating that brings across the ideas and concepts in a way that the words simply can't quite achieve.
That's the goal, and we're going to have so much art that we can't even fit into all three of these books. And so we are investing a tremendous amount in art. And once again, we want the mechanics and the writing and the narrative and lore and the art to all inform each other and be part of this cohesive whole. And yeah, we just hope that, you know, even if folks, there have been people saying that like they don't even plan on playing and they just want to get it as an art object. And I mean, gosh, how many board games or TTRPGs have I gotten that I don't have time to play? But I just love flipping through and looking at the art. And so I only want to make sure that it is a beautiful art object, even if you don't want to play it.
Human created art, both in the words and the visuals. 100% AI free. To me, again, that's a really amazing thing to do, and to say it boldly, and to just be like, this is who we are. We're not doing that.
Exactly.
And I'll tell you, those deluxe trilogy boxes, those are some pretty handsome coffee table books. Just saying.
I've worked on some projects that have made coffee table books, and yeah, I mean, I have books that are just for the art. I have like the Space Marine Collector's Edition art book over there, for example. But
and what I'll say is that you know, people have been asking us for an art book. And what I'll say is we'll see how high our stretch goals go, is all I will say. All I will say.
Oh my God, stretch goals are such a thing. There's, for anybody who doesn't know, when you're kickstarting a project like what Mikey's got, or even something smaller, like I worked on one for the Secret Worlds RPG a few years back. And the temptation, of course, with the stretch goals, you see that number keep going up and up. You're like, oh, we can make more. We can make more. The thing is, you don't want the stretch goals to be more things you have to make. That's actually counterproductive, because it makes it longer time before the project actually gets real, and a whole bunch of other things. So figuring out like what a good stretch goal is and how it should work and how it should pay for itself is actually a major part of the planning for a Kickstarter.
It is. We learned that the hard way, is what I will say.
I bet you did.
We learned that the hard way with Crooked Moon, and for Neon Odyssey, we're a lot more prepared, is what I will say. Still, we didn't expect this, but we're still way more prepared than we were for Crooked Moon. Where Crooked Moon, we were like looking at it, I was like, well, what the fuck is a VTT? I guess we better figure it out. I guess we could just throw that in. I don't know. And so that is the level of where we were at for Crooked Moon. And so we're a lot more prepared this time, is what I will say. But yeah, the scope is important. The not having egregious scope creep is extremely important.
This leads to another very important question. Do you guys have a plan for if you don't hit your funding goal?
Oh, we don't. Oh, okay, yeah. You know, I guess pack it up, pack it in. Let me begin. You know, let me end. That's it.
Hey, 60 days a lot. I think they got it though. I believe.
I think we might have it. Fingers are crossed.
Finish line, yeah.
But I think we might have it.
All right. If I may, I do have a friend of mine who asked me to promote his Kickstarter as well, which is not nearly as big as yours. But he's a good friend of mine. His name's Mike Lafferty. He runs a small print company called Fainting Goat Games, and we've showed his stuff out on the channel before. He's got one for his Star Wars inspired game called Pew Pew.
Pew Pew Bounty Hunters.
And it's called Somehow Pew Pew Returned, which is
unbelievable.
Which is a great title.
Does that include the sigh? Somehow.
Somehow
Bounty Hunter. That is incredible.
So go check out that. Mike Lafferty is also the creator of a fine product called Cocaine Owlbear, which
that is incredible.
We've talked about on the show before.
Yes,
he's a great guy, good friend.
Go support that.
That's this for you, Mike. There you go, buddy. I appreciate you.
I hold on. I think I just back. No, I got to log in and verify.
Woo! We got somebody to back to somehow.
Here we go.
Nice.
I just backed.
Heck yeah.
So he's the master of good titles, by the way.
That's incredible. I mean, I admire the somehow Palpatine return. I admire that tremendously. That's incredible. I just backed it. Go support it, folks.
But for real, Neon Odyssey is possibly one of the most exciting things I've seen in role-playing games in a very long time. I'm so glad you came on the show today with us, Mikey, and it was super fun talking about it.
Yeah.
It's just fantastically exciting
So fun.
stuff. Seriously, I've been very energized by this. It's been lovely talking to you. Nice meeting you.
Nice meeting you too.
And I think that's it for today's stream. Unless we got anything else, Vera?
Any little peek to the future?
Yeah.
For us,
Yeah,
what I'll say is that we have a lot of ideas. We have a lot of ideas. I think I've mentioned on stream is that before we decided on Neon Odyssey, we had a Pixar lunch, right? You know, I think where Pixar, they planned out like the first 10 Pixar movies or something in a single lunch. I think very famously. And we came and we like discussed like 5 or 6 different themes for our next Kickstarter campaign. So needless to say, we have a lot of ideas for many, many, many years to come. And I have an appetite. I want to keep doing this. I have no intention of retiring. So we have a lot of great ideas is all I will say. And I want to just thank everyone who tuned in and thanks for everyone at home watching.
We do Lorebeards Roleplaying every Monday between 2 p.m. and 5 p.m. Mountain Time. So tune in if you'd like to see more of Vera and I and occasionally special guests talking about role-playing games. But until then, I think that'll be it for today. Right, Vera?
Just about. Thank you guys so much. Thank you for coming by again. This has been
Thanks
a wonderful time. Super excited to see what y'all do.
Cheers. Bye,
Have
everybody.
a good one.
Bye now.